All right, we should be good to go. Howdy, howdy, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good day. Good day. Oh. What's today? Today is the 14th? Neat. Cool. So here we are. What? Go away. View? If I click view, does it go away? It doesn't go away. That's annoying. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's going away. Happy day. Happy day indeed. Oh. Oh. Mm. If you agree with me, then you're not opposition. So don't join the live stream. It's pretty easy. Have I ever scripted? Like, written a bash script? Yeah, I've written bash scripts. Hope everybody can hear me all right. Oh. How was the meeting yesterday? It was fine. I also just got out of a meeting like 5 minutes ago. So, we're good. All right, let's talk to FOB Gang for Life. FOB Gang for Life, how's it going?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
How are you, doctor?
I'm doing okay. Is there a preferred name that I should call you? Want me to call you FOB? Want me to call you Gang for Life? Fob? Okay, great. Fob, do you believe in a god?
Yes, I do.
And which one would that be?
Jesus.
Okay, so I don't. You know, it says I'm an atheist. So why should I believe in Jesus?
Well, the typical reason is to go to heaven.
But what if I don't think heaven's a real thing?
Then I can't convince you, but the only thing I can do is walk the talk.
What?
I can't say I believe in Jesus, but then you will see my actions does not align with my belief. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, like, if you want to follow the teachings of Jesus, by all means, I'm happy that that'll probably make you a better person. It doesn't really help me, though, understand why I should believe.
Well, it's big. It's like what the Bible's saying. Judge them by their fruits. You know, if their fruits, if they have the fruits of the Spirit, then they are in Jesus. But if they say they believe in Jesus, but their fruits does not reflect Jesus, yeah, you have every right to judge them.
What? I don't understand how that answered my question. But that's okay. It doesn't sound like you have evidence or that you want to have this discussion, which is fine.
Well, when you say evidence, that's
like some sort of reason. That's evidence or reasons are the ways that we come to beliefs, right?
Right, and that is the hard part, you know, when it comes to Christianity, because you know, I mean, I understand the claim, well, it's just a book, and people wrote the book, and yeah, like that. But if the book, I mean, there are other books, right? Not just the Bible. There are other books that speaks to you.
All right, Bob, I'm gonna let you go because there's not really much to talk about here. I'll bring up the next guest in a minute. If you guys saw me swear just now, I was fiddling with my pen and I broke the little bit off that, like, I was bending it and it broke. Hence why that happened. We just got a new member on YouTube. Thank you for becoming a member, Timo. I appreciate you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, let's bring up Not Jay. Not Jay, how's it going?
Pretty good, Dr. Blitz. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Not Jay, do you believe in a god?
I do.
Okay, and which one would that be?
God of the Bible.
Okay, so just for clarity, are you Jewish or Christian?
Christian.
Okay, so look, I don't believe in that god. I don't believe in any of the gods, but specifically that one. So why should I believe in that one?
So, I wanted to. My argument would be something does not come from nothing, but I've heard that physicists have been able to see particles coming in and out of existence in certain experiments. Can you explain that to me, or is this not the proper forum?
Well, it's not really the proper form, but it's also not really true. No one has ever seen particles come in and out of existence. What has happened is that we've made new particles from smashing old particles together. So like you'll smash 2 protons together and then out will come like 50 particles. That's a thing that happens, but like this whole popping in and out of existence stuff, that's like a math trick. It's not a thing that anybody observes ever.
I thought there was some quantum physicist who did a experiment where they applied some sort of field. Or are you familiar? I know I'm a layman, so I know that this argument is probably wrong and dumbed down. But are you familiar with that experiment?
It's not a real experiment.
It's not.
No.
So that never happened.
Not as far as I know.
Okay. Then I'm going to let you go because I don't think there's anything I can do to convince you at all.
Okay. Well, thanks for being here,
All right.
Jay. Take care.
You're feeling better? You're okay now?
I'm okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Every time I eat fish, I think about you now.
Fair enough. Well, it may not have been fish, right? But
right.
Who knows?
Or a toothpick or anything.
Or
that was
my best guess is that I had a crown break off in my mouth, so
Yeah.
I have a crown in my teeth, and it broke like 2 or 3 years ago. That's my best guess, and then I swallowed it. So like a
but
little.
you're 100% healthy now.
I mean, like
you don't have cancer.
I don't have cancer. Not 100%. I have a big scar on me, and I'm having a camera go down my throat tomorrow morning to just check things out. But things are looking okay.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and I hope you're okay and everything goes well tomorrow.
I appreciate that.
Wish you well, my friend.
Appreciate it. Take care.
All right.
I just want to point out, because I did see a comment that somebody mentioned. Somebody said, what did they say? I love your debunking videos, but this is kind of weird. It's like you're trying to convince yourself. Yeah, I'm asking people to convince me, because if it's true, I want to know. That's the whole point. All right, let's talk to Larry. Larry, how's it going?
Oh, it's going good out with you, boss.
I'm doing all right. Larry, can you give me just 1 sec, because I have to adjust something. The TikTok window is being weird.
Yeah, of course. Take your time.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
All right, sounds good.
It's just so I just want everybody to be able to see your lovely face, or your lovely profile picture, rather.
Oh, you're good. I mean, hell, I can turn on my camera on if you want.
It's unnecessary. It's completely up to you. Okay, so we should be good. So, Larry, do you believe in a god?
Oh, yes, I do. And I'm actually an Orthodox Christian.
Okay.
I actually used to be an atheist, as a matter of fact.
Okay, so why should I believe in Orthodox Christianity?
Well, I wouldn't say believe in Orthodox Christianity.
Why should I be an Orthodox Christian? How about?
Well, I wouldn't say Orthodox Christian. We're talking about God here, not like just specific type of Christianity. We're talking about God here.
Sure.
So, So again, I used to be a atheist, but then I kind of like converted and stuff. So what makes you an atheist?
An atheist specifically about which one? Because, there are different reasons why I'm an atheist about different kinds of gods, right? If you ask me why I'm an atheist towards the Greek gods, I'll be like, well, people have been on top of Mount Olympus, and and Zeus isn't up there, right? If you ask me why I'm an atheist towards, I don't know, Ra, it's because, or Helios, it's because we know what the sun is, and it's not a fireball being pulled by a chariot, right? So if you ask me why I'm an atheist towards like the Abrahamic God, I would say it's because the Abrahamic stories depict a being that seems incoherent, right? On the one hand, it's supposed to be all loving and all good, and on the other hand, it does these horrible things. On the one hand, it seems to have caused these great calamities. On the other hand, we have no evidence that these great calamities ever happened. In fact, the stories that we see, the scripture that we read, it just seems like it's compatible with the kind of mythology that early Iron Age people would be telling to explain why they exist as a nation. You know, if we're talking about the Israelites, you know, these kind of nation building stories, it seems compatible with that. So it just seems kind of mythological, I guess.
Right, I completely understand that. They have the same point as you. So let's break it down a little bit. So first off, your first point was, if God is, you know, all good and stuff, why does he like allow bad stuff to happen in the world?
No, it's specifically about like, why does God order these horrible things in the Hebrew Bible?
Could you pull up some?
Yeah, 1 Samuel 15 is the go-to.
All right, I'll be searching.
This is the one about destroying the Amalekites. In case you know the story.
Right, could you describe?
Yeah. So Samuel, who is a prophet, right? Also, who I'm named after, by the way. Samuel says to Saul, "I am the one the Lord sent to anoint you king over his people, Israel, so listen now to the message from the Lord. This is what the Lord Almighty says. I will punish the Amalekites for what they did to Israel when they waylaid them as they came up from Israel. Now go, attack the Amalekites and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them. Put to death men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys." So if you believe that Samuel was indeed a prophet, speaking or with God speaking through him, then this would be an example of God ordering genocide.
Right, but you also have to understand what those people did.
What did the infants and children do?
Well, we're defining the people here. I mean, we were defining the people here. Like, what did they do?
Well, so God orders Saul to go kill all of the Amalekites, who didn't do anything. The people who they are ordering to kill, who didn't do anything to the Israelites. What did happen is, a few hundred years prior, the ancestors of these Amalekites who were being ordered to be genocided, the ancestors attacked the Israelites. I think they attacked the Israelites. The Israelites won the fight, but you know, there was a skirmish. And so then a few hundred years later, God orders Saul to kill all of them, even though they didn't do anything. It was just something that their parents did.
Well, I mean, honestly, I haven't had too much insight over that scripture specifically, but only thing I could really say about that was things happen for a reason. But let's move on to the next. So basically,
by the way, there's some like horrible whistling. Do you know what might be causing that?
I don't know.
Well, it seems okay, but continue.
This is not my computer. So
Okay.
So what were your other points exactly? Because that's the point. So the point you brought up, basically. I mean, I'm still researching about that and whatnot. And it's something I brought up. That's like one of the first things that I've heard. What are your other points?
Well, I mean, so that's like a big one. Like it seems like we have a story about a being that is incoherent. Like there's an inconsistency there. But the other thing is is external. Namely, we hear these stories about things that like obviously didn't happen. Like the flood obviously didn't happen. And yet, if Jesus is indeed the Son of God, then he shouldn't believe anything that's false. And Jesus believed in the flood. So it seems like Jesus believed something that was wrong.
Well, why do you think the flood didn't occur?
Because the Egyptians, who were right next door, have continuous records for the entire period during which the flood was supposed to have happened.
Interesting.
And I mean, also, there's like no evidence of a global flood whatsoever. Like none at all. And in fact, it's like a physical impossibility as well. The earth would vaporize. as a result of the heat being released.
Right. I'm pretty sure they found fossils, like, on top of mountains and stuff.
Yeah, that's because of how mountains form. Mountains form by tectonic plates pushing up against each other. And so if those tectonic plates were at the base of the ocean, and then they pushed up against each other and rose out of the ocean, this is how the Himalayas formed, then you would have the fossils that used to be at the base of the ocean now on top of the mountain.
Well,
But importantly, what we don't see is we don't see all of the animals being dead all of a sudden 4,000 years ago.
right. One of the comments actually brought up a good point. There's actually a good point in the comments and stuff. They said that the whole world didn't get flooded, maybe one portion.
Well, that's why I brought up Egypt. So Egypt was right next to the land of Israel. They literally border each other. And Egypt records no flood. None whatsoever.
Right. So the flood may have occurred probably like in a certain area, like wherever, like.
So what, the water just stopped at wherever the border between ancient Egypt was and ancient Judea?
I wouldn't say that. I'd say it might have happened just in one area exactly, but
Which area? And if it was just one area, why does God say that he would wipe all life off the face of the earth?
you also gotta understand too, the Bible. There's a lot of deep meanings in the Bible,
But Jesus thought that this literally happened. This wasn't like a metaphor, right? And ancient Hebrews at the time, the Hebrews that were living around the same time as Jesus, also thought that this literally happened, that it wasn't a metaphor.
Interesting.
And we know that they thought that it was a metaphor because if you go look at the Talmud, which was written around the same period, there is a particular section where they're arguing about whether the global flood covered even the land of Israel. That's what they called it, the land of Israel, because the land of Israel was a holy land, and so maybe that land specifically was exempt. It would have been the only exempt place because it was the only holy place in their view, right?
Right.
So they thought it was a real thing.
Right.
So it just seems like that
Or how about this?
Jesus would have thought it was a real thing too. In fact, we have verses of him talking about the flood in the Christian Bible.
Right, so let's scratch the the flood stuff about like God ordering the massacre, whatever. Let's focus on little simpler things again. I mean, I'm still studying about this stuff. I mean, I recently converted to Christianity and stuff, and there's still a lot of stuff that I need to gain knowledge on. But let's simplify this conversation a little bit. So, what's a good simple topic for you to deny God?
You asked me what the reasons are why I don't think the God that you believe in is real. I gave you them, and now you want to say, okay, but aside from those things, well, those are the reasons.
Well, again, I just said that I'm still studying about this.
So then I don't know what else you want me to tell you. Those are the reasons.
Is that all the reasons?
Those are the reasons why I don't believe in the Christian God, yeah. Because the Christian stories are obviously myths. They didn't happen. And the God depicted by the Christian stories is internally inconsistent.
Right. Well, what about let's do this instead. What about just a God in general?
What properties does a God in general have?
What do you mean?
I mean, so like, are you just saying like a being that created or that is created or responsible for the universe or something?
Yeah, just the creator of everything. Yeah.
But that's not what you believe in, right? You believe in something far more specific than that. So why would we talk about something that neither of us believe in?
I mean, I do believe there's a God, right?
Right, but the God that you believe in is not just like some, absentee father that just created the universe and then fucked off. You believe in something very specific.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Say what?
You believe in something very specific. You don't believe in just a generic God.
Again, I'm still studying about this.
But then why
It's
do you
interesting.
believe in... So look, if you want to talk about a generic God, we can. But my question is, you came on and said that you were an Orthodox Christian, right? So like, presumably, you think that that's true. So I would like to know why you think that that specifically is true. Not just why you think that a God general exists, like a general God exists. Because that's not what you believe in. It's not what I believe in. I'm curious, like, how did you come to Orthodox Christianity if you don't have any reasons to believe in something other than it's perhaps a generic God?
Well, I can give you a couple reasons, as a matter of fact. So, obviously, a lot of my family's Orthodox Christian. That's one.
Sure.
Two, I think it makes more sense, right?
Which part
Well,
makes more sense?
Well, first, when it comes to the Orthodox Christians, you have the icons, you have the saints, and obviously the stories of the Bible. There's a lot of stories in the Bible that kind of kind of point to just God's existence and stuff. I mean, sure, like the massacres or like a lot of the stories and stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that kind of points to God's existence and stuff. But my general belief, I mean, obviously, I view myself as an Orthodox Christian because kind of because of my background, but also just because of the history behind it. But also mainly, obviously I view that there's a general God and stuff.
Okay, I mean, I guess we can talk about the general God stuff if you want.
Yeah, cool.
It's just a little puzzling to me because, like, you said about the stories in the Bible, but it just sounded like you weren't familiar with the stories in the Bible. But when I brought up a very famous one,
Yeah, again, I'm still studying the Bible, so I mean,
that's fair. And I guess Orthodox Christians are not sola scriptura, right? So
yeah, I mean,
you guys have
compared to
patristic tradition and all of that.
yeah, compared to like different, I mean, compared to different forms of Christianity, I'd say it's like, um, I would say it's just different in its own way, and I feel like it's in a better way and stuff. Like you said, the procedures and whatnot, and I feel like it kind of like grows the faith. It's hard to explain. It's something that it's something you just gotta understand. But I mean, it takes time. But let's shift to the general God.
Okay, so why should I believe in a general God?
Right. So, what are your reasons for a general God not existing?
Well, it's more that I haven't been given good reasons to think that it does exist.
Give me a few examples.
A few examples of reasons I haven't been given.
Well, I want like what are the good reasons they haven't been given, for example?
How could I know them if I haven't been given them?
Well, let's use common sense here real quick. So let's say you have a house, right? A house on a field or whatever, or
Mhm.
you have a painting in your house. Do you think the house or the painting came from nothing? Did you just like snap into place like that?
No, I know what paintings are. Paintings are produced by artists.
Yes.
So
And buildings,
I have
buildings are
a,
looking for paintings.
I have a, I have background information about what a painting is. So when I look at a painting, I'm like, I can go look at the bottom right-hand corner, and there will be a little signature there, and it'll tell me who painted it.
Yeah, of course.
So I know stuff
I-
about paintings, so I can conclude what the origins of the paintings were, because I have a background information.
Right, so we're getting somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so here, let me check my camera for this.
Please be wearing a shirt.
Oh no, trust me. All right, so let's say this. So, all right, first off, so yeah, I already drew this a while ago, but
Your camera's
all right,
not on,
first
by the
up-
way.
Oh, it's not. Oh shit. Oh, there we go. All right, so yeah, obviously I'm wearing full clothes, but hold on, let me chief my vape quick. All right.
What am I looking at?
Oh, okay. Sorry. So here I drew a little pyramid right here. Right. This is kind of what represents my faith a little bit, and in general, God, for example. So first off, we have a builder right here, and then we have a painter, and they have their creation right here,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is a painting and a house, right?
Yep.
Now, where do those builders or painters come from?
They come from their parents.
Yeah, right. So they have the parents, and where do the parents come from?
Their parents.
Right. And where do the parents come from their parents?
I mean, it keeps going all the way back until there are no more parents.
Right. And so eventually we kind of cave it into a triangle, basically, right? And what do you think comes like
Well, before
I see
parents,
that
there was asexual reproduction.
asexual reproduction, right?
Yeah,
What comes before asexual reproduction?
the origins of life. Call it abiogenesis, perhaps.
And now, where did the whatever you just said come from?
Where did the abiogenesis come from? Abiogenesis is a process. It's not really an object that comes from something.
Right. So here's the thing that troubles the situation. How did all the reactions, the symbiotic, whatever, how did it come from nothing though?
Who
Explain
said
that.
it came from nothing?
Well, and like you said, with your faith, with your belief in atheism, that there's no God.
Belief in atheism. Okay. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, I apologize for that. But so you said so. When it comes to your view of atheism, you say that nothing. Well, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what your like exact views are, but
So rather than saying anything, you could just ask.
right. So what are your main beliefs in atheism? I know you don't believe in God, but what do you believe in exactly? When it comes to
I have lots of beliefs about lots of things. I think that, Indonesia is probably too harsh on their criminals. I think that there's a black hole at the center of the Milky Way. I think that generally left-wing politics is preferable to right-wing politics. I think that king crabs are cool animals. I have lots of beliefs. Is there something specific that you want me to tell you the belief about?
Yes, it's this conversation about like the belief in God. I mean, you said.
Oh, I don't have a belief in God, so there's not really a belief that I can tell you.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say belief in God. Like what tells you that we have no God? Like
What tells me that there is no God? Well, I form beliefs based off of evidence and arguments that have been presented. When those evidence and arguments are convincing, I form a belief about them. If those evidence and arguments have not been convincing, I do not form a belief about them.
Right.
So I am an atheist because I have not been given convincing evidence and arguments for the existence of a God.
Right. But don't you think that? I mean, do you think something comes from something? Like, do you think nothing comes from nothing?
Do I think nothing comes from nothing? I don't think that nothing exists or ever has existed.
Then how does that make sense though?
Well, the same way you don't think nothing ever existed.
Well, there definitely has to be something, like for something to happen.
I agree. There has to have always been something.
Right, but then again, bring up the starting point. Everything eventually narrows down to the starting point.
Starting point of what?
Everything. It's everything.
Well, there can't be a starting point of everything if there was never nothing.
Then what's the like? You're basically saying so again with the pyramid and stuff. You're saying so. So I'll say the life is the pyramid basically, right? And eventually it gets narrowed down to one point. And everything in life just came. Obviously, it has its own root and everything. It came from something, right? But then we have the starting point. You're saying that
I'm saying that look, you and I both agree that there was never nothing, right? We both agree on this. You think that God always existed, for example. So we both agree that there was never nothing. So if there was never nothing, then there could never be a start to something, or a start to everything, because then that would mean that in some sense before that start, there was nothing. So we agree there was never nothing. We both agree there was never a start to something.
right. So yeah, this whole conversation it's wasting my brain. Like I mean, obviously, like I haven't had too many conversations about atheism, so I'm pretty unexperienced with this stuff. This is my first live, so
You're fine.
Yeah, dude, I pretty much haven't had time explaining like the concept of it, basically.
So my view is that the universe wasn't created.
But then we have the universe.
Yeah, I think that the universe, I don't think that there was ever not a universe.
Right. But then where did that universe come from then?
It didn't come from somewhere. There was never not a universe.
I'll say again.
There was never not a universe. There was never a lack of universe. So if there was never a lack of universe, then it didn't come from anywhere.
That wouldn't make sense, would it?
Well, you tell me. Where did God come from?
So it was there.
Well, there you go.
Here's something to understand too, like we have our framework, which is called life, basically. We have different dimensions and stuff. Wait, we have time. We perceive time as a beginning to end. Right?
Well, I don't know if time had a beginning or an end, or if it will have an end.
Well, in our framework, basically. And
Sure.
The way we see things, we have beginning and end. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, like colloquially, sure. How we kind of live.
Man, I'm having a hard time explaining this. Like, yeah, obviously, I mean,
Why don't you tell me, you said that you were an atheist up until recently. Why were you an atheist?
oh yeah, that's a good conversation point. So the reason why I was an atheist, obviously, like the reason why I was an atheist because I didn't believe in God and stuff because of all the bad stuff that was going on in the world and stuff. And first off, it was the bad stuff going on in the world, and again, I didn't believe in the Bible. I thought it was stupid.
And now you do?
But yeah, and the reason why is because I did have a near-death experience at one point. Right?
God, that sound is back and I don't know what it is. Are you on headphones perchance?
No, I put it on top of my Chromebook. So
Okay.
like not my MacBook actually, but yeah. So mainly the reason why I was an atheist is first I viewed God as just like a tyrant, basically, right?
Okay, so
Like,
it sounds more like you were mad at God, not an atheist. Because an atheist wouldn't view God as a tyrant. An atheist would think that God doesn't exist.
I wouldn't say he was totally tyrant, but like essentially what I'm saying is that like if God was all powerful, all good, then why was all bad stuff happening, right? Which kind of didn't make sense to me at the time, right?
And now it
And the
makes
whole
sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay, so why does bad stuff happen?
Well, bad stuff happens because the simplest answer to that is we have free will. Yeah.
Well, not all bad stuff is the result of human action, right?
Yeah, things happen in nature because
So why do those bad things happen?
well,
Why do those bad things happen, right? Like, as an example, in our winter, this was in the summer of 2019 in Australia, there were devastating bushfires, which resulted in approximately 2.46 billion lizards being burned alive, along with around 60,000 koalas. Why did that happen?
well, there's always a reason for something to happen. So
But what's the reason?
yeah, man, I'm not ready for this conversation. Like again, I'm still studying about a lot of this stuff, but I mean, yeah, it's like I obviously have reasons and stuff, and there's still some stuff that I'm learning about, you know.
Well, the only reason I ask is because it sounds like you used to think that it was crazy that bad things happened, even though there was an all-powerful God that loved us and knew about everything. And then it sounds like you came up with the solution so that it now makes sense how you can have an all-powerful God that loves us and still allows for bad things to happen. So I'm just hoping for the explanation for, how could an all-good, all-knowing, all-powerful God that loves us, how could that God let 2.46 billion lizards burn to death? Because, I mean, if that was the reason that you stopped being an atheist because you figured out how that can work, then you could tell me what the reason is.
Well, I do believe that there's always a balance between good and bad. Every time something bad happens, there's always going to be good out of it.
What's the good that came out of the 2.46 billion lizards burning to death?
Well, I don't know.
Well, then how do you know that something good is going to come out of it?
Well, I wouldn't. I'm not using that as an example though, because
But I
that's
am.
still- well, that's something I gotta research more. That's something that, like, again, I'm still learning about God. But mainly, the point is like, I mean, mainly, just like mainly the point, like reason, like kind of the reason why I became like, Christian and stuff.
Sorry, one more time? Your audio got quiet.
Yeah, I mean, with the whole conversation about like the lizards and stuff. I mean, that's still a topic that I'm still studying about. Like why stuff happens in nature and stuff, and it's still something that I can't fully fathom. But the main reason why like I just like started believing in God again is because like. I mean, obviously, so I had when I mentioned I had a near-death experience. I mean, I'm not just gonna say, "Oh, I met God" or something, right? Like, I mean, I would say I met God, but I feel like He spoke to me and stuff. And
So
I wouldn't say He specifically spoke to me. I just feel like He spoke to me through and stuff. Like, I started viewing things a lot more different,
look, so near-death experiences are not so uncommon.
Yeah.
But what do you make of the fact that the near-death experiences that are experienced are almost exclusively tuned to the culture that the person who's having the experience lives in? Like, there are cases of people who have near-death experiences who live in India, and they have Hindu-associated near-death experiences. They see Vishnu sitting on a throne, for example, or something like that. And when you go to, I don't know, the United States or the West, and somebody has a near-death experience, their near-death experiences are often laden with Christian imagery. And if you go to the Middle East, where there's a large population of Muslims, their near-death imagery is often Islamic in nature. Doesn't that seem like a little bit too much of a coincidence to suggest that the near-death experiences are actually associated with something real rather than something cultural?
It could be a little bit of both.
Do you think that if you were born in India, that your near-death experience still would have been hinged with Christian culture?
I mean, I'd say like the culture around me would kind of like establish it, but again, I'm talking about the general God, not like a specific God.
But the near-death experience then shouldn't have gotten you to Christianity.
Well, again, it's something that I started, kind of putting myself into, I mean, like my faith started out with the general God, and then eventually, because of my family, because just my reasons, kind of turned to Orthodox Christianity and stuff.
And what were okay, actually, we've already been over that. Look, Larry, I think that this is probably as good a place to stop as any. Do you want to call it here?
Let's say good.
This is as good a place to call it as any. Do you want to call it here? Because I think that we've kind of been around, like we're about to circle.
Hey, one more thing before I go.
Sure.
I mean, again, I'm still studying about a lot of this stuff. I'm still learning, and obviously, I'm not used to debates. And obviously, I mean, my reasoning. I mean, I do have a lot of reasons and stuff. There's just a lot of reasons that I'm still like figuring out too. And there's a lot of stuff I'm still learning about every day.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, it seems like if there's still stuff to figure out, I would suggest agnosticism. That might be more up your alley. But I'm going to let you go, Larry. Thank you so much for being here. All right, let's read some super chats, and then we have our next guest. From Ordinary Heathen with the $5, always remember to ask for consent before showing your fruits to anyone. That's true. Unless they ask for your fruits, don't show them. From Tim Davidson with the $5, I believe beer is icky. Drink your $4 bread soda. My $40 foo-foo drinks look like Smurfs member and taste great. True. From Gretchen with the $5, lol, win Larry for making Blitz look confused like he's trying to figure out if he's being punked or something. It's glorious. No, stop it. We don't like this. From Christopher Sanford with the 20 pounds, creationists point Borguth to say physics says time had a beginning. Given the recent survey by F. Shorty, is it F. Shorty? AF. Yeah, it's F. Shorty. F. Shorty and Helper showing a strong consensus is not that. I'm curious how physicists view BGV in your experience. Physicists tend to view BGV as a theorem in classical GR, where I think it requires, yeah, a theorem. It's a theorem in classical GR. But nobody takes the idea seriously that classical GR is the classical GR with the weak energy condition. I think with the idea that that's how our universe actually is. We know the GR breaks down. So, and also the BGV theorem isn't even a theorem in classical GR. It has counterexamples. From Lucky with the $2, billions of delicious grilled lizards. No, we stan our grilled lizard friends. From Empiricist with the $2. Not even look at the trees, just look at the vibes. Sometimes you just gotta look at the vibes, though. All right, let's bring up JC Cook. JC Cook, how's it going?
Oh, it's going, brother. It's going.
Glad to hear it. Cook, do you mind if I call you Cook?
Yeah, that's fine.
So,
and you said your name was Sam, right?
yeah, but you should call me Blitz. That's what everybody knows me by here.
Blitz. All right.
Yeah,
Dr. Blitz, that's right.
So, look, I don't believe in a god. I imagine you do.
Yes, sir.
Which one?
Well, I was introduced to God through, Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe He died for our sins, and I do believe in those things. But the thing I wanted to ask
Cook. Are you like outside next to a wind chime?
Yes, I am. Here,
Could
I can
you go
inside.
slightly further away from the wind chime? Yeah, it's just kind of loud.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah, I can go inside. I was about to say the breeze. I'm just kind of picking up.
They are nice, but they're kind of loud. You're good.
Yeah, they are.
All right, go ahead.
Well, shoot. Later, let me turn that fan off. Because that's going to be in the background, too.
Yep.
All right. Hopefully the air conditioner's not too loud.
No, it's great. I can't hear it at all.
All right. So, I'm not going to... I don't want to argue, like, the Bible itself or the historical accuracy and everything. It's more the truth of what God means. And he was talking about a general God a moment ago. And do you believe in love over hate? Do you believe in
I don't know what
hope
that means.
over fear?
I mean, like, I think that love is a great emotion to feel. I think that hate can be it can feel nice to feel hateful to especially if it's righteous hate. But generally, hate leads to worse outcomes in my view. So,
well, you said righteous hate. Do you believe in like justified punishments, like the death penalty, things like that?
I'm not in favor of the death penalty. What I'm saying is that it can definitely feel good to hate someone for like a really good reason. Like it can feel good to feel hate in some contexts.
All right. Are you familiar with the concept of like love is my religion type?
Yeah, wasn't that like an REM song?
Yeah, as well. It's like I'm talking about more like the concept like God is of love or agape, the love of God. Like the philosophical.
Maybe it's
concepts.
share. I don't know. I mean, like, yeah, I'm familiar with that idea. That's losing my religion. That's right. I'm familiar with the idea. It seems like it's nonsense.
Really?
Yeah.
You choosing love over hate, choosing like.
Well, no, that's not
to
what the phrase
share a
"God
meal
is
with
love"
somebody?
means, right?
Well, in the stories of Jesus, he like shares food, even if you don't believe he turned the loaves and the bread.
He does
to
share
all those
food. He
people.
also says
The
he came not
concept
to
is
bring.
feed the multitude.
He also says what? I came not to bring peace, but the
Bring
sword.
peace, but the sword, and the sword's the scripture, and it's the truth of the word of love.
Well, I don't
And
know
that's
if
what
that's
he
what the
teaches.
sword means.
Well, no, no. The sword's the scripture, and it is.
I came to turn father against son,
Yeah.
mother against daughter.
So-
That doesn't seem like super loving.
Well, hold on now. If we didn't turn from our father's old ways, if we didn't turn from those old ways, we would still have people trying to Sieg Heil and stuff. You know what I mean?
I have no idea
Like-
how that relates to turning father against son.
Well, I mean, I would think that the sons of the old, like so, like slavery, the sons of the South. You would hope that I live in the South. I turn away from my ancestors, my fathers.
Oh, that's
You know
good.
what I'm saying? Like their
I'm
old
glad that in that
ways.
case it was a good thing. But what about all the
Yeah.
times?
So like
What about
turning
all the
from their
sons?
father.
So
Yeah.
you're
Like
saying that turning fathers against sons is a good thing,
well, in certain situations,
right?
turning
So
one's
it's
heart towards love versus
yeah, in
fear
certain
and hate.
situations, I agree.
So that's what I'm saying. Like turning towards God would be like turning towards love, and God is love, and that's what they try to say is the truth, the way, and the life.
Well, I
And
don't
that's
know what
what
it
a lot
means
of the
to say that
scriptures
God
point
is love.
towards.
What does it mean that God is love?
Well, all right. So all right. Do you believe in non-tangible things like the fruits of the spirit? Are
I
you
don't
familiar
think
with
that
those
spirits
concepts?
exist. I'm familiar with them. I don't think that
Well,
spirits exist.
okay. Well, the fruits of the spirit: love, joy, peace,
Hmm.
forbearance, kindness, goodness, gratefulness, gentleness, and self-control.
I'm
You
familiar.
think that? All right. So bearing those fruits identifies one as being part of that vine of love, of a good tree,
Yeah, I think
not a
that
wicked
all of
tree.
those things are
You know what I'm
generally
saying?
good. Those are like good personality traits.
Okay, so that would be my saying I believe in love is that I believe in choosing to bear those fruits,
Well,
choosing to
that's
be
great, but
one of
like
that
you
path.
can be an
Okay,
atheist and also choose to bear those fruits, right?
I mean you could be a Jedi and choose to bear those
Exactly.
fruits.
So I don't know what this has
Yeah,
to do with God.
well, I mean I think that's has everything to do with God, and that's
Well,
what your belief
if you can be an
those
atheist and also
paths.
choose to bear those fruits, then it has nothing to do with God.
Huh. Well, I mean, it would make you a righteous person. I mean,
Sure, and that has
yeah.
nothing to do with God.
So you can, all right. So you don't see choosing righteousness and the choosing to follow those morals like the Stoics and stuff. At least philosophically, this is almost a faith, even like because I mean, some of
No,
them
I
worship.
don't take that as a
You
faith.
don't.
No.
You don't see just following philosophy as a spiritual experience.
No, I don't think that spirits really exist. If by spiritual
Okay.
experience you mean some sort of enlightening experience, perhaps, but that's not a faith, nor is it a belief in God.
You know, I'm starting to really understand why like atheists can't be Freemasons because like they have like mysteries and stuff, and they allude to moral like ethical things in their um I don't want to say plays, but you know what I mean. They like whenever they do their things between their degrees, they do theatrics, and it teaches moral lessons and stuff. And I'm starting to realize how atheists couldn't do that because you'd have to at least have to connect those morals and ethics to a spiritual growth and understanding of the spiritual self.
Yeah, I
And
don't think that the
atheists,
spiritual self
see,
exists. So,
yeah, I'm seeing that. I'm starting to understand what it means to be an atheist. Like, how can I teach you to believe in something in a spiritual side to things if you can't believe in the spirits? Like, I have to convince you spirits exist. So I'd have to like show you a spirit, or the Holy Spirit would have to come into your life, which I pray the Holy Spirit does come into your life to where you can have that experience, to where you could have that foundation of a spiritual experience. And you know, some people like that other guy. He was saying he had some kind of a what was it, psychedelic experience or something like that, or a
yeah, a
no,
near
near
death
death
experience. Yeah.
yeah. So a lot of people they'll do like DMT. They'll do like there's extended state DMT things where people are saying they're exploring a whole nother world and mapping it out or something with these beings. I'm like, okay, I never tried that, but
So it seems like
some people are saying,
we're going off on a tangent here.
yeah.
Like,
Well, I'm saying
is there a
just
reason
finding
that
a
can you
spiritual
give me a
side.
reason, as somebody who doesn't
I'm
believe in
trying
any
to.
of this stuff, why I should believe in the
I
God that you
mean,
believe in?
I mean, my God is love, and I would think you should choose love over fear and
Okay, so
hate.
when you
And
say your
you should
God is
choose.
love, do you
Yeah.
believe that Jesus rose from the
Yes.
dead?
I believe that He died for our sins so that we could have eternal life, and
That
that's
wasn't
the
my
true act
question.
of love.
That wasn't
Yeah.
my question.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood it then. What was your
I'm pretty sure it
question?
was clear English. Do you believe that Jesus rose from the dead?
Yes,
Okay.
he rose from the dead.
Do you
He
believe that
went
Jesus is the Son
ascended
of
to hell.
God?
Yeah, I believe he is. He is Emmanuel. He is God among us. He was the
Okay, so
incarnation of God.
so are
Yes,
you saying that Jesus is identical to God?
I'm saying that he's God incarnate,
Okay, so
but he's
and
separate
but
yet
hold on.
equal
Is
because
God identical
have
to love?
experience. See that'd be different aspects of God
Okay, so then what do you mean when you say
in the
God is
Trinity.
love?
That's See, that gets into this.
Look, so
like,
so
I don't want to dive into the theological stuff because if
Then
we don't
why are you
have a
here?
foundational belief and well, I'm trying to talk about God as in who God's essence is love. So if we were talking
Wait,
about
hold on. When you say God is
Yeah.
love,
yes,
when you say is, do you mean that is identical to? Or do you mean one of God's properties is love, is like being loving? Or do you mean something else? Because that's the point of confusion here.
all right. I would say agape, the concept of agape, the
Is
love
that
of
identical
God.
to God?
Yes, it
Okay,
is
so-
God. It is the essence of God.
Okay, so if that is identical to God, are you telling me that love
Love,
is the Father
wisdom,
of Jesus?
truth.
Well, hold on. It
Yeah.
can't be all of those things.
Yes,
Because
it can.
love and
we
wisdom are
can
not
be
the
all
s-
those things.
love and
We as
wisdom are not
people
the same
can embody
thing.
those things.
Love and wisdom are not
We
the
as
same thing.
people. Yes, it can be. We can be wise and loving people.
Yes,
so
we can have
God.
multiple properties, but wisdom and love are not identical.
They well, you can be loving and wise.
Yes,
That's true.
Nobody's
So
disagreeing with
God
that.
is a living.
You're not
so, all right,
understanding.
so
Oh my God!
God's a living being as we are. I'm trying to understand where you're coming from,
Then
but
stop cutting me off and let me explain.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, brother. This is your life. My bad.
So you said that God is identical to love, agape love, perhaps, but it's identical to it, meaning that love is God. God is love. It's not just like a property of God. It is God. And then you also said that God has these properties of wisdom, for example. But wisdom, God can't have the property of wisdom if God is identical to love, because love doesn't have the property of wisdom. Those are two distinct concepts. Do you understand my criticism? You're saying that God is identical to this thing, but God also has this different property. It can't be both.
I feel it can, just as people can be both loving and wise. So can
Okay,
God.
so
He embodies
people
both.
are not
This is-
identical to love. People have a
People
property
aren't
of being
identical to
loving.
God, but we're
People have
It's
the
characteristics,
people have a
yes.
proper people have characteristics. Loving can be a characteristic of a person. Wise can also be another characteristic of the same person. But you're not saying love is a characteristic of God. You're saying that love is identical to God. You
All right,
understand the
so-
distinction that I'm making, or
right.
should I clarify?
well. All right. I get what you're saying, but I understand the what I'm saying is that agape, ultimately God, even if he does things just like a parent raising a child, he's not doing it to harm people as much as he is to try to teach a lesson. Sometimes the lesson goes well beyond a lot of our understandings. That's the mythical side of it, and I can't argue why everything happens or doesn't happen.
But that's maybe.
But
So
ultimately,
maybe
I-
I'll clarify
what-
because if that was intended to address my criticism, then it didn't. So I can clarify
Okay,
better.
I'm not. All right, please
It's
try.
fine. It's fine.
Clarify,
I don't mind.
clarify more.
So, like, look. Would you say that Superman is identical to Clark Kent?
There are two aspects of his person, two different
Well,
personas.
no, I
of
mean,
the same
Superman
person.
is Clark Kent, right?
and Clark Kent
is Superman. Like they are identical. They are the same person. They're the same
They're
thing.
just two different costumes.
They're
the
two different names for the same
entity.
thing, right?
They're two entities.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, one entity, two personas. Yeah.
yeah. So they are identical to each other.
Yeah,
they both refer to the same thing.
Samuel to
right?
your parents, but you're Dr. Blitz here.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So they
yeah,
both refer
gotcha.
to the same thing. Now, one of the features, one of the properties, characteristics of Superman is that he can, he has heat vision, right?
Yeah.
So, would it be true to say that Clark Kent is heat vision?
It's an aspect of his
Right,
being.
it's a property, it's a characteristic, but he
aspect of his being.
isn't heat vision. Heat vision is merely a characteristic of him. Right?
All right. Well, I would say
So wisdom might be a characteristic of God. Loving might be a characteristic of God. But
for me,
that doesn't mean that loving is God or that wisdom is God any more than heat vision is Superman.
But for me, that proves if one is of God or not of God, if they have the characteristics of the fruits of the Spirit. I mean, for me, that helps reinforce my faith, that rationalization. But for you, without a foundational belief in the Spirit and this, or your spiritual being, your soul, and the Holy Spirit, without that foundational belief or any kind of experience of phenomena to make you have an experience of or encounter with the Holy Spirit or something phenomenal like that, like the Red Sea's parting or something miraculous happening. Like, okay, I should have died in that, but I didn't. Like, for a fact that something intervened or something changed that wasn't the way it was before, and you're like, okay, that must be a Mandela effect or something, then you have to convince yourself, well, maybe I just misremembered, things like that. Until you have enough of those coincidences, I can't give you that experience, and that's the sad thing. I pray that you have those experiences, man. I mean, I can't.
Hey man,
make
if it's
you
true, I hope so
God
too.
If you don't have the Spirit.
If it's
I'd
true,
love
I
to
hope
hear
so
that,
too.
man.
But
As long as you're open to it, I'm glad to hear that.
until somebody can give me a reason to think it's true, I'm gonna withhold my belief. JC Cook, I'm gonna let you go, but thank you so much for being here.
I could give.
I had to let him go because if I didn't, I may have started to say mean things. And I didn't want to do that. Alright, I think that we had a guest who people were yelling at him in the comments to join up. I think his name was Jesus or something. So if Jesus is in the comments, if he's still here, if the guy that you guys have been telling me to bring up is still here, please hop in the box and I'll bring you up. Yeah, it was like Jezu or something. What's their name? Oh, I don't remember what their name was. We do have some super chats though, at least one super chat. From Will Day with the $5. Can you name a moral action or statement a believer can do that a non-believer cannot? Counter, name it a moral action that only a non-believer can do. I don't think that there are any. Moral action or statement a believer can do that a non-believer cannot. I mean, I guess an example perhaps would be like, I guess it would probably be moral to promise to pray for someone on their deathbed if the person that you're praying for also believes in the same religion that you have. That would be pretty moral. But like an atheist could do that, a non-believer could do that. They would just be lying to make the person feel better. But I think that is still like virtuous, reassure someone in their last moments of life. I think that that's probably a good thing. And then name it a moral action that only a non-believer can do. I don't know if there are any. And then we have from Buddy Christ with the $2. Now at least 2 super chats. Well, I appreciate that, Buddy Christ. All right, let's bring up our next guest. I meant to say an immoral action that only a believer can, an immoral action that only a believer can do. Oh, okay. How about, I would say that it's immoral to like hope that somebody, or to wish somebody goes to hell. That's pretty immoral. To like wish that upon someone, I think is probably a pretty bad thing in my view. All right, well, let's talk to Peace Be the Journey. Peace be the journey.
Hey,
Peace be the journey. How's it going?
I'm going good, man.
Glad to hear
I
it.
am really enjoying this conversation. Before I forget, I just wanted to bring up, I have heard of near-death experiences from specifically Muslims who had some type of like hell experience where they were falling in a pit. They saw an angel. They started reciting some of the Quran. Nothing happened. Anyway, they came to
But there are also
Christianity.
plenty of near-death experiences for Muslims,
Oh, right,
like
right.
like
And
that,
I mean,
that have like
and also,
Islamic
like,
dogma attached to them.
Right. I've heard of lots of reports of also, because it's against the local law to proselytize Christianity in those countries, they'll have newspaper ads of like, have you seen the man in white? Because they're having dreams of Jesus. But anyway.
Well, that's a big claim, but it's neither here nor there. So look, I don't believe in God. I imagine you do. I'm going to assume from the questions or from the statements that you just made that you actually are a Christian. So why should I be a Christian?
Well, let's start with creation. What are your thoughts on chirality and irreducible complexity?
Chirality? Like
Chirality
in like
you know,
the physics sense?
Right, the supposition that something is so improbable that it's impossible.
That's not chirality. Chirality is being left-handed or right-handed.
Well, okay.
What
I may-
chirality are you referring to?
This is something that's so improbable that it's impossible. Like, so minute that, like, flipping a coin,
How do you
a
spell
million
that?
times and they all land on heads.
'Cause I've never heard the word used in that way, but I'm I know what you mean. I'm just curious if this is like a different spelling of like a word that I'm not familiar with.
I could be wrong. It's happened before.
Okay,
But
anyway, so I know what you're talking about. So you're saying that there are things that are so improbable that they couldn't have ever happened.
Like, DNA sequencing, like,
Yeah, what
for
about it?
something to come together, perfectly, 100 times out of 100 and create, something.
Well, I mean, it doesn't. Like, this is why cancer exists, right? Because it doesn't replicate itself perfectly every time.
Right, mutations and stuff like that, but all, mutations take away from the genome. They don't add to something.
Sure, they can. For example, if you have a duplication event where a gene is duplicated, then you have now 2 genes where there used to be 1.
Right, but all mutations cause something to be like eradicated. They're never like.
I just gave you an example of a kind of mutation, which is a duplication that
I'm sorry.
adds genetic information rather than takes it away.
So, what would be something that we have seen or observed in recent history where a mutation has added and caused a benefit?
Any time that you have a duplication event.
Well,
Like,
I'm saying,
for,
like,
like
I mean-
okay, so an example would be the single gene for sickle cell anemia. Turns out if you have one copy of this gene rather than both copies of this gene, then you actually have improved resistance to malaria, which is neat.
Okay. All right.
It's definitely a positive.
I'll try to stay out of the weeds and stuff like that, just for the wider audience thing. Okay, let's put it into smaller terms. Okay,
Mhm.
so if you have a Toyota Corolla,
Yep.
and you have every part for this car,
Mhm.
and you put them in a box and you mix them up for 1,000,000 years,
Mhm.
will that create a Toyota Corolla?
It depends on how long. I mean, if 1,000,000 years, probably not. Would be my guess.
Okay, a billion years.
A
Any
billion
amount.
year. Well, yeah, eventually, yeah. As long as you accept point gray recurrence, which is a theorem in statistical mechanics, then yeah, that will happen eventually.
Has it ever been observed?
No, probably not. But
Okay,
also, we've only
so-
been around for a few thousand years, so like, of course, we're just not going to observe these things that are extremely unlikely.
Right. Okay. So just sticking to the things that we can observe, we've never observed abiogenesis.
We've also never
We've never-
observed God.
Right. We have not observed God, but we have observed. Okay. I mean, I guess I needed to clarify a question. Like, you don't believe in a particular God, but do you believe in creative intelligence or
No.
design? Okay. So
In fact,
Even though
we've never observed creative intelligence design of a universe before.
but we observe it every day in us.
What do you mean? We're
Like-
talking about the universe, not us.
Well, I mean, saying like if it exists on a small scale because of irreducible complexity, then
Well, we
it
can
would
talk about
exist on a
irreducible
larger scale,
complexity,
right?
but no, that's not how it works. Otherwise, you would have to accept that rare things can happen on a large scale too. Like, what we have seen is we have seen slightly rare things happen. And so by your reasoning, we could then infer that, well, then the even rarer things could happen. But that's not good reasoning, right?
Okay. Let me try to approach this from a different point. So what I'm saying is, you observe creative intelligence on a daily basis with people making music, people creating Toyota Corollas, people
Sure.
creating all kinds of stuff.
Absolutely, sure.
All of that it requires intelligence.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So-
arguably, I don't know, man. I don't know if the designer of like the Hummer required intelligence, but that's neither here nor there.
Some people have, really good tangents on making bad stuff. But anyway, yes, you're right. But I would just assume that because creation exists on a smaller scale, that it also exists on a larger scale.
There's also non-intelligent organization of stuff that happens on a smaller scale. So by that same reasoning, I could say Well, the non-intelligent organization of stuff exists on a larger scale.
I cannot think of an example of a non-intelligent organization of a functioning anything.
A crystal. A crystal is an extremely organized structure, and it forms. It doesn't seemingly require intelligence to form. So.
I could argue that it did. I mean, based on.
Well, that would be begging the question, because then you'd be assuming that God exists.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if I can create a magnetic field and throw some raw material into it, then it has been created from an intelligent
Right,
design.
but the crystals that I'm talking about are like the ones that form from water dripping in caves.
Right. So if I can create the environment to
I'm not talking about
facilitate
the
water
artificial ones. I'm
cycle-
talking about the non-artificial ones, the natural ones. Those ones,
Right.
those crystals that exist in caves, they are organized structures that do not seemingly require intelligent creation.
Right. But if I can create the environment to facilitate that natural creation, that too can be from intelligent design.
Sure, you can replicate non-intelligent organizational structures using intelligence, but that doesn't mean to say that those structures require intelligence to form. So the point is that if it's so, your reasoning was that a lot of these things that we see in the world, iPhones, Toyota Corollas, paintings, music, these are examples of things, structured things, we would call them, that require intelligence to be produced. And therefore we could say, well, maybe all things require intelligence to be produced. But then I say, well, look, we have these organized structures that don't require intelligence to be produced. Crystals formed by dripping water in caves. Therefore, all things don't require intelligence to be produced. See how I used the same line of reasoning and came to the opposite conclusion?
Right, but you're also presupposing that you can detect the intelligent design.
Look, so you can say that, oh, well, maybe they were intelligently designed, but that's just begging the question. Right, the point is that we're looking at like whether or not the immediate cause of the origin of the object, like the immediate cause of the painting, is that a painter drew on the canvas or painted on the canvas, right? That's the immediate cause. The immediate cause, and so we have the immediate cause in that case is some intelligent thing. The immediate cause of the Toyota Corolla is, a machine, and the immediate cause of the machine is like a person who built the machine, right? Because we don't assemble cars by hand anymore. And same with songs, like the immediate cause is like a musician playing a musical instrument. The immediate cause of the crystals forming in a cave is water dripping. So like if we're only going back that far, then we can't say, oh, well, you just don't know how you just don't know, maybe there is an intelligent cause some way far back, like billions of years ago, because then if you're willing to say that, oh, well, maybe the water dropping is actually intelligently designed, you just have to go a few more steps back. I could say the same thing about the humans. So the painting isn't really intelligently designed because the humans are not intelligently designed, because they're a natural thing that formed naturally.
Yeah. And I can see the argument, because both things are predicated on observation. And since you can observe, how the magnetic field was created, in my personal opinion, evolution is kind of more like a belief than it is a science, because
it is a belief, but it's also backed by, beliefs are just like all knowledge is a type of belief, but like it's obviously a belief. It's a stance towards something. But it's also backed up by like an extraordinary amount of evidence, scientific evidence.
Yeah, but it's anyway, that's probably a separate argument, but it's every person who is taught evolution is taught that it's right.
It is right.
To start with. Well, that's what I'm saying.
It's been observed. This is like observationally just the case. We can observe evolution in the laboratory.
You've never been a billion years old. You didn't observe it.
You don't need to be a billion years old to see evolution happen in a laboratory.
You have not observed any type of missing link or anything like that. No, none of us have.
What do you wait? So what do you think finding the dead body of a missing link is?
Okay, so it's like I'm gonna find this crab.
Wait, he's gonna do the thing
in a layer of rock, and I'm gonna say the rock is 1 million years old because of the fossil I found in it, the circular reasoning.
No, we use radiometric dating to figure out the ages of things, to give an absolute age to things.
Right. And that is also observing that this radiometric dating, the carbon dating, has always produced.
Not talking about carbon dating.
I know. What I'm saying, you're saying that the half-life of whatever, like polonium-213, always was the same.
Yep, that's what the laws of physics say.
But in order to even have the Big Bang, the laws of the physics wouldn't be the same.
That doesn't follow.
In order to have the creation of the Big Bang, you had to have non-physics situations from the very beginning.
That's not true at all. Why would you think that you need non-physics to explain why the Big Bang happened?
What I mean to say is that the physics that happened during the Big Bang can't ever happen again. They were like something, that we can observe today.
Why do you think that? Where is that, like, on what are you grounding that claim?
It's just like the same premise that if you could see abiogenesis happen today, then you would say that it could happen again. But since we don't ever observe that, then
Well,
it's
to be clear, depends on what you mean by abiogenesis, but like we observe all of the steps required. We just don't observe them all happening at the same time. At least not yet, although that's probably on the near horizon.
Yeah.
Like, you're familiar with the Urey-Miller experiment?
Vaguely.
So the Urey-Miller experiment was done a while ago, and then it was repeated fairly recently. And let me see if I can find the paper. Yeah, here it is. So the Urey-Miller experiment basically took like inorganic stuff, like primordial soup, and then shocked it with lightning, and then saw amino acids pop out. But at the time, this was done in the 50s. I guess this was done by Stanley Miller. So this was done in the 50s. They didn't have all of the tools required to analyze what came out. So they didn't actually know that more stuff came out than they thought. So there was a biologist, I think he's a biologist. Who is this guy? He's a geologist, rather. So this was a few years ago? 2 years ago? Where they basically repeated this experiment where they took primordial goo, shocked it with lightning, and they saw amino acids pop out. So it was a mixture of water, methane, nitrogen, and ammonia, and then they shocked it. So they saw amino acids pop out. They also saw protocells pop out. So like this is just a thing that we've seen in a laboratory.
Right. And I mean, irreducible complexity states that, you can't have, like an organelle exist outside the body.
Can you give me an example of something irreducibly complex?
Mitochondria.
Mitochondria were just another bacteria that got absorbed.
But I'm saying, like, they had to exist.
They have their own DNA. Yeah, they existed separately from the cells before mitochondria got absorbed into the cells.
But what I'm saying is, like, mitochondria, ribosomes, like, they have to exist by themselves, not in and not function.
Why? Why can't those? So I mean, mitochondria is a bad example because mitochondria almost certainly was an independent organism before it became a symbiotic part of animal cells. But why can't these other organelles evolve?
Well, what I'm saying is, like, you don't ever observe a ribosome by itself on a table that is surviving.
Why do you need to? Why would that be expected if evolution was true?
Because it goes from smallest to largest. It goes from less complex to more complex.
Smallest to largest doesn't mean those aren't the same things. Smallest doesn't mean least complex.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me look that right. Yeah, you'd go from least complex to more complex. So you would have to have a whole field of ribosomes sitting on a table, existing normally all by themselves, and then at some point in the future, they assemble themselves together into a functional organelle.
Well,
right?
No, that's not what needs to happen, right? You don't need to have ribosomes existing separately on their own in order to have, like, and then have them, like, I don't know, like, assimilated. Or that's just not what's necessary in order to form a functioning cell.
You would have to have each part be able to exist on its own. That's the fallacy of irreducible complexity.
Wait. Why do you need to have each part be able to exist on its own? The point is that these are things that could, like, current cells require ribosomes, right? It's not clear to me that all cells throughout all of history requires a ribosome, right? So you could have cells that existed before ribosomes existed. And then the ribosomes are an evolutionary feature that develop over time.
Right, but that's getting back to the argument, like, we just have to go back further. But we don't observe it now.
Are you saying that we don't observe cells without
don't-
ribosomes now?
Yeah, yeah. What I'm just trying to say is that we don't observe the individual components of organelles existing outside of a cell. They have to like all be there at the same time.
You would never expect
function.
them to exist outside of a cell. That's not part of the. It's not part of the evolutionary, or that's not part of the abiogenesis story, right? So like,
I mean,
you're arguing against the straw man here.
I know. I'm just trying to say like the individual parts don't exist on their own. So
Okay,
you have
that's
to
not
have
that's
some.
not required. You don't need the individual parts to exist on their own for like ribosomes for ribosomes to find themselves in cells.
What I'm trying to say is this. Okay, let's put it into a more layman's term. You have to have a functioning alternator all by itself before you put it into a car and it makes electricity.
Sure.
You can't.
Or
Yeah,
living
so in
organisms
the
are
same-
not cars.
No, they're much more rudimentary, but they're still functioning objects that are assembled together.
So you can make the claim that irreducible complexity perhaps exists in designed objects like cars. You have to prove that it exists in objects that we don't necessarily agree are designed, like organisms.
I mean, it's kind of like saying that a leaf should exist separate from a tree.
How is it like saying that at all?
Well, I'm saying a leaf is one part of an organism.
Yeah.
So
Trees,
if-
so plants didn't always have leaves.
okay, so you're saying
Leaves
that
evolved.
they grew. Right. All right. So you're saying they grew some other way besides photosynthesis? I mean, maybe
Photosynthesis
chemi-
doesn't require leaves. For example, cacti
Right.
do
I'm just
photosynthesis
saying, like,
and they don't have leaves.
yeah,
They have
that's true.
spines.
Okay. So
Like
Well-
algae do photosynthesis. They don't have leaves.
right. Yeah. Well, I mean, the long story short is that I personally, getting back to the scripture part of it, I can't convince you that there is a God because it's actually not my thing that does it. You know, no man comes to the God unless he's drawn by the Spirit. But anyway, I think that, you know, creational stuff is observed every single day. There's no reason to suppose that this part of the universe was not created. This part of it is. I mean,
You're right. There's no reason to suppose any of it was created.
well, I mean, that would be like saying, oh, this, you know, a filing cabinet, it wasn't created. It just appeared
Well, it
by
was
itself.
created by something itself that wasn't created. That's no problem, surely.
I mean,
For example, you think that the universe was created by something that wasn't created.
well, I mean, I actually have some way more out there opinions about universe creation and stuff like that. I mean, we're also observing this whole thing from the point of our own time, you know, 4 dimensions, something like that. So if someone created time, that means that, you know, we'd be even outside of their area of observation, you know, 5-dimensional being, whatever you want to say. But I'll try to stay out of that. It's just anything that's more complex should require more intelligence.
Okay.
My eye is much more
So,
intelligence than a corolla.
do you think that God is complex?
Yeah, I mean,
God is
I would think
so. So if God is complex, then it requires something even more intelligent to create God.
Oh.
It sounds like what you're saying.
Right. I mean, it's possible. I mean,
Well, if that's true, then Christianity is false.
well, I mean, just because something's possible doesn't mean it's probable, right?
Well, look. So then, is it possible that a complex thing requires something more intelligence? Perhaps. Is it probable that something complex requires something more intelligent? Not necessarily.
I mean, it's logical to me, you know. I mean, I am a complex organization with trillions of parts,
Mhm.
you know.
You are
So-
the end result. You were one of the end results, anyway, of 3.5 billion years of evolution. Of course, you're going to be more complicated than the first thing that crawled. This is, of course, a metaphor. Crawled out of the primordial soup.
But I mean, yet we create, you know, microcomputers in the last 50 years with millions of parts.
We have big brains. We got them big brains.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the conversation, man. I really
All
do.
right, take care.
Okay.
All right, let's read some super chats and we'll bring up our next guest. Remember, guys, if you want to support the live stream, make sure to tap that screen on TikTok. Make sure to like it. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube. Make sure to follow along if you're watching on Twitch. And if you really like the live stream, if you really want to support it, then the best way to do that is to send super chats. Go to my website, which is blitz.phd, no .com, just .phd. And there's some places like a Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, a Patreon if you want to support me in some other way. Of course, super chats are very much appreciated, and we'll get your messages read. From Brian Peck, we have the $5. We observed natural beings rearrange existing matter, therefore it's likely a supernatural creator used rule-breaking processes to create ex nihilo. Yeah, I mean, look, that's what it usually boils down to, and it's just so unconvincing to me. From Buddy Christ with the $2. Oh, wait, did I already read that? I feel like I already read this one. Now at least 2 super chats. From Adam Hurst with the $12. Why do they always say, I understand or I get it when it's obvious they do not? Keep up the good work. It's just the thing people say as like a way of acknowledging what somebody said. I usually don't take it personally. From Hollow Z with the $10. Just because you are you, Dr. Blitz, you are a treat to listen to and always on point. A real treasure. Well, I appreciate that. It's very sweet. Very, very sweet. And from Patriot of the West with the $5 Australian. G'day. I love Australians. Abiogenesis describes life from base components in tidal pools. Bible says Adam was made of clay, yet they say we believe in life from nothing. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Good point. All right, we have some guests waiting on Discord, so let's bring up them, at least one of them. Let's bring up Billy Badass. Billy Badass, how's it going? You're on the show.
Talking to me, Blitz?
I am indeed talking to you, Billy Badass.
Oh, Jesus.
You joined up for a reason, right?
Yeah, I joined up for, so I have a simple question.
I love simple questions, but Billy Badass, before we start, do you believe in God?
I am on 2 different sides. I have gone from the fence of atheist to being a person that has spiritual belief. I'll say that. I can't say that I believe 100%. It's just like
Well, if you don't
believe in spiritual belief.
If you don't believe in God, then I think I'm going to let you go, because if you don't believe in God, then how could you convince me to believe in God?
So I do believe in. It's hard to nail down what I believe because.
Well, then it's certainly going to be even harder to convince me.
Okay, I have a question.
All right, make it quick.
What is your? Do you have a stance against God? Because
Yes, I'm an atheist, so I don't think that God is real.
no, I said it because earlier in the conversation you said that you didn't believe in spirits.
Yeah, I also don't believe that spirits are real.
Okay, so I have a.
But that's not the
I do
topic of the conversation here.
I know, but
I'm going to let you go, Billy Badass. The audio is really not good. I don't know why, but apologies for that. Christos follower, how's it going? Christos follower, you are currently on the show. You are muted though, so you have to unmute yourself. Welcome.
Well, hello.
Oh, I can hear myself in the background. Can you mute the live stream and just listen to me through Discord?
Yeah, it's muted.
Okay, great. So Christos follower, I'm going to take it from your name that you are Buddhist.
Buddhist?
Yeah.
No.
Ah, rats. I thought I would get it right this time. So, which god do you believe in?
I believe in the triune God called
Okay.
Yahweh.
Okay, why should I believe in that god?
Well, there's many reasons to believe in him. First of all, also, pardon my English, I'm not an American native. I don't speak English too much, so
That's fine.
forgive me for that. Yeah. So, you know the story of Jesus Christ, obviously, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So for me, that's the biggest reason to believe in God.
Which story specifically? Are we talking about the nativity story where he was born in the reign of Herod, but also born 10 years later when, I forget his name, some guy was governor of Syria? Which story are we talking about?
Well, I'm talking about the story of the Bible where Christ was born.
But when was he born?
During Herod's time. Huh?
Oh, but what about Christ being born, or Jesus being born Let me pull up the actual person's name. Quirinius. What about when Luke says that he was born while Quirinius was governor of Syria?
Quirinius. Oh, hold
Yeah,
on.
that's in Luke 2.
Let me pull that up.
Because he wasn't governor of Syria until, what, 6 AD?
Okay.
Which would have been after Herod was already no longer king, right?
Yeah. Well, this could be like after Jesus returned from Egypt.
No, but that was when he
After
was born.
fleeing-
He was born when
was born.
Quirinius was the legate, the governor of Syria, right?
Mhm.
So it seems like there's something a little bit fishy here.
I see. So
So which one are we talking about? Are we talking about the first Jesus or the second Jesus?
the second Jesus, I mean, there's only one.
Well, but there's two
only
birth
one.
stories, so it can't be both.
I mean, well, your point is crazy. It's quite interesting. Could you give me like a little moment so I can read through what you just
Yeah.
showed me in Luke 2?
Yep.
Okay, give me a second. Bro. It's interesting. Let's see. Okay.
So I guess Herod died about sometime between 6 or 7 and 9 years before Quirinius was governor.
Hold on. Hold on.
So I'll put Herod the Great. I can pull this up and I can show you. So on the one hand, we have Herod the Great here. This is the one being referred to in the Bible, Herod the Great. He died either in 4 BC or in 1 BC, depending on who you ask. On the other hand, we have Quirinius, who, if we go scroll down here, he was appointed to, where is it? Legate. Yeah, right there. He was appointed to legate in 6 AD, which would be 7 to 9 years after Herod died. So was Jesus born during the census of Quirinius, or was Jesus born during the reign of Herod? Seems a little fishy.
I mean, that is interesting because I never saw it like that.
But surely you read the
Interesting.
Bible, right?
Yeah, I have.
And you didn't notice?
Well, I never noticed the difference between
Because in the Gospel of Matthew, it's the Gospel of Matthew that mentions that Jesus was born during the reign of Herod the Great.
Yeah, and then Herod the Great tried to kill Jesus, and therefore Jesus left for Egypt and then returned after his death.
Right. Yeah. That's the story anyway. But then also in Luke, it says that he is born during the time of the census conducted by Quirinius.
Okay.
So, which one am I not supposed to believe?
Hold on a minute. Oh, I see now. So, in Luke 2, when it says this was the first census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria. So in the Greek, the first protos in Luke 2 could be interpreted as before. So
Do you and I do we speak? Do you know Greek? Are you Greek perchance?
I'm not Greek, but I am studying Greek.
Okay, so I mean, like, I'm not Greek either. I don't speak Greek. Isn't it a little weird that like all of the relevant translations just use the word while?
Well, it does depend because the Greek has certain. It's almost like the Hebrew. Like the Hebrew, one word might hold different kinds of meaning depending on the context of the story, right? So I think in the context of this story, right, when it says this was the first census, it could be this was before the census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria. So let me pull up the original Greek.
So I mean, I'm looking at it now, and to be clear, neither of us know Greek, so I'm just going to believe that the translations that we're looking at are good representations of like how it's meant to be understood. So, I mean, we could just go look at all of these, like, you know, obviously King James is going to say this taxing was first made when Cyrenius was governor of Syria. We can go look at the NIV if you want, the New International Version, which says, hold on, go. This was the first census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria. We can go look at the NS, why can't I ever get it right? The NRSVUE, which is somewhere here. There we go. This was, and we want to do that. This was the first registration was taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria. So like all of these translations use that language, and yet you're telling me that this is actually an incorrect translation, and actually it meant before Quirinius was governor, right?
Well, basically, yeah.
So why are all of these translators getting it wrong, but you're the one who's right here?
No, I'm not saying that they're getting it wrong.
No, you are. I mean, they're saying that it was taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria, but you're saying that actually it should be read as before Quirinius was governor of Syria.
Okay, so is it possible that I can share my screen to show you?
No, because nobody else will be able to see it.
Oh, okay. Or can I share you the link where each?
So I'm looking at the Greek interlinear, by the way. This is just on Bible Hub.
Hold on.
So we have prote, egeneto, hegemoneontis, which means first took place when was governing. So, like, we can go look up this other word, this word prote. Occurs 18 times, is the great and form, or, so this occurs in Matthew. So it just means first. Here in Matthew, it means first on the first day of unleavened, so it means first in Matthew again. Is the foremost, kind of another word for first. Is the foremost on the first day, the first census, the first commandment, the first defense, the first covenant, like the first dependent, like I don't know what the NAS is, but that were committed under the first, like it seems like that this word, when it's used in the Greek in the Christian Bible, it seems like it's always referring to first, as in when it was first used, not before.
I mean, well,
we can go look at this Greek word too, egeneto. Oops.
Hey, hold on. Which site are you using?
Bible Hub.
Bible Hub? Bible Hub. Oh, but I'm using Bible Hub and they're telling me like a completely different thing.
Okay, where are you looking?
Wait, I don't know. It is the Bahrain publications. It's not that one. Hold on.
So it's just a little bit suspicious. And look, this is not a you issue. You haven't heard about this before, and so you're looking for any way out of it right now, which is totally fine, and I get that. But like, it's just a little bit funny that you haven't heard of this before, and then you do some Googling to try to find some way out, when all of the translations that we look at, like all of the standard Bible translations, translate it this way, translated in a way that is to be read as these censuses took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria. Like, so it seems like that this is a plausible contradiction that you're just kind of scrambling to try to find an out for, which I get because it challenges the worldview. But what's more likely, that all of these translations got it wrong and that your like some random apologetic website that you found is actually giving you the correct explanation, or like maybe this is actually just evidence that that at least one of these stories is not true.
Well, I won't go that far as to say that, but I will agree that what you're saying does come up as a shock to me too. So I really was not aware about that.
I mean, it's
But the strange
something that you
thing
should
is,
be.
huh?
It's something you should be
I mean,
aware
yeah.
of it.
I mean, yeah. But I'm confused because whenever I search the word pro, right?
Well, the word isn't
Pros,
pro.
pros.
It's prote.
It's pros. Well, the first part pros.
But that's not the
it
word that's
means-
used. The word that's used is prote, which means first.
Yeah. Indeed.
Right? If you look up a different word, it's going to mean a different thing.
Okay, let me see. Well, bro, I'm going to have to admit that I'm very confused on this part, which you
apparently,
mentioned.
Apparently, if you ask biblical scholars, I'm not a biblical scholar either, but if you ask them, they will say, well, yeah, they are mutually contradictory, and Luke is wrong. Luke's story here is ahistorical.
Perhaps.
And that's if you ask like religious biblical scholars, I guess. If you pay attention to, perhaps objective biblical scholars, they'll tell you, yeah, they're both made up.
Well, you got me, bro. I don't know how to make this. Well, I don't know how to say. I mean, I don't know what to say, bro.
Okay. Well, we can call it there if you want. We can call it a day there if you want. You want to go think about it?
A day. I mean, yeah, but I mean, you brought up a good point, and after this, I'll go and do some research on this, and then possibly, if I do find an answer, come back with an answer to give you. But wait, so is there nothing else that we can discuss about?
I mean, we can.
Or it's just this.
But if the reason I should believe in Jesus is the stories of Jesus in the Bible, well, you're gonna have to tell me which story, because I'm not sure which one's right.
All right. So which one do you want to use?
I don't think either of them are real.
All right. Boy, how though?
What do you mean how?
Okay.
I think that they're both made up.
Okay. All right. So, do you believe? Okay, not believe, but would you be inclined to accept, or maybe, how can I put it? So if, let's say, other people outside of Christianity were confirming stuffs written in the Gospels about Jesus, like, let's say, do you know of a man named Josephus?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, you do?
I'm familiar with the Testimonium Flavanium. And it's also probably a interpolation.
All right. So
Josephus is probably your best piece of evidence that Jesus existed at all. But to say that Jesus, so there's two pieces, there are two passages that are mentioned, like Jesus is mentioned all of exactly twice in Josephus's writing. And one of them is almost certainly fake. The other one is plausibly real. But the one that's plausibly real isn't confirming anything about how, how Jesus was actually the Messiah, or that he rose from the dead, or that he did miracles, right?
So, what about people like pardon pardon my pronunciation. His name is
Tacitus. Yep,
So,
familiar with Tacitus too. He lived, what, 100 years after Jesus died? But yeah, so Tacitus, sure. Yeah, he wrote, he confirms that, or he gives us evidence that Jesus existed.
right?
He refers specifically to Christians and says that they got their names from Christus. That's where the name came from. And, you know, he says, well, he was executed by Pontius Pilate. And then he goes on to talk about how, you know, there was superstition in Judea, and, you know, but he doesn't talk about any of the miracles or any of the resurrection or anything like that.
All right. Okay. So, I do want to ask you this though.
Okay.
Would you
Spawn killed, by the way.
do you believe that a person, let's say, would die for a lie?
Sometimes, especially they don't know it's a lie.
Well, what if the person in question is so convinced of it that he's ready to go to basically to death for that truth?
Yep, lots of people have gone to death for things that are not true because they're convinced of them.
Yeah, but I'm saying people who have seen the thing, you know?
Oh,
they claim that they have seen
who did this?
Well, I'm going towards the disciples of Jesus.
Which of the disciples of Jesus went to death having claimed to have seen the resurrection, for example?
All of them. Basically, all of them.
Can you give me some information on this?
Well, Peter was crucified upside down.
Well, that's in the Bible. Why should I? But
Yeah.
I already don't believe the Bible, so.
But many historians, even non-Christian historians, do accept the Bible as clear historical events.
There are historical events described in the Bible, and the reason that we can know some of them are historical is by outside confirmation. Also, by the way, Comment points out reasonably, Peter wasn't a disciple, right?
Peter was a disciple.
Oh no, I was thinking of Paul. I'm sorry.
Well,
so
Paul was an apostle, but he came afterwards.
Yeah, he never met Jesus, right? Paul never met Jesus. So the story about Peter being crucified upside down, that's in Acts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so do we have any confirmation that this actually happened?
Well, sadly, we don't really have anything outside of the Bible.
Okay, so why should I believe that it's true? Also, hold on.
Yeah?
So, Peter being crucified upside down, that's in the Acts of Peter, right? That's in the Acts of Peter? The Acts of Peter is not in the Bible, and so it's not even scripture. It's apocryphal, and I guess it was written like maybe 150 years after Jesus died. So why should I believe that this says anything about what actually happened when it's, you know, over a century later? Also, doesn't Simon fly in the Acts of Peter?
Fly?
I think so. Yeah. Simon just starts flying.
Flying going where?
In the sky. Like this, like why should I believe this? Yeah, somebody said in the comments, yeah, there's a flying wizard battle.
Interesting.
So like maybe we don't believe the acts of Peter, which means that maybe we shouldn't believe that Peter was crucified upside down.
I mean, okay. If you want to go that route, we sure can. But you did mention Paul, so
Yeah, Paul
can we
wasn't an
speak about
apostle.
Paul?
Also, wasn't Paul the one that like lived out his days?
No, he was John.
Oh, you're right. But Paul never saw the risen body of Jesus, so that's kind of irrelevant anyway.
Well, Paul was a Pharisee who was hunting down Christians.
Yep, he
hunting
was, and he never met Jesus. So so I mean, if we're sticking with the point, and by the way, I can never. There's so many names: Paul, Peter, John, Matthew, Luke. Like there's so many different names. So you'll have to forgive me for not being able to keep them straight. But your original argument is you have these people who would have seen it, and they wouldn't die for a lie. But Paul didn't see it. Paul only became a follower of Jesus after Jesus had already died.
Yeah, but he saw the risen Christ.
No, he had a vision. That's to be debated. We don't know what he saw. In one particular piece of scripture, he just saw a bright light, right? And he heard words. In another, he sees Jesus, if I remember correctly. Let me just pull up the two different. It's in 2 Corinthians, and then is it Acts? Yeah, and it's also
verse 1.
Sorry, what were you saying?
It's in Acts 9 where you'll find about that.
So, and then also 2 Corinthians, yeah. If I remember correctly. So, okay, I'm looking at Acts. No, I want to look at Acts 9. Acts 9, please.
Yeah, Acts 9.
Acts 9. Let's look at Acts 9. So here, let me just show you what I'm looking at. So then you can. Oh no, you won't be able to see it because you're on Discord, but everybody else will be able to see it, so that's fine.
Yeah.
So here we have Acts 9.
Yeah.
So meanwhile,
Acts 9,
Saul was
verse
still
3.
breathing out murderous threats against the Lord's disciple. He went to the high priest. Okay, I'm just gonna scroll through and see. Right, so it's Acts 9:7. The men traveling with Saul stood there speechless. They heard the sound but did not see anyone. Saul got up from the ground, but when he opened his eyes, he could see nothing. So I'm sorry, I missed the part earlier. As he neared Damascus on his journey, suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him. He fell to the ground and heard a voice say to him, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" "Who are you, Lord?" Saul asked. "I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting," he replied. So, in fact, in Acts 9, he doesn't see Jesus. He hears Jesus, and he sees a light from heaven. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, even in...
Okay, so tell me...
So he didn't see Jesus.
If he didn't see Jesus, then why did he get blinded?
Why did he get what?
Why did he get blinded?
Because he saw a bright light.
Well, a bright light can't really make you blind.
A bright light can't make you blind? What do you think
I mean,
happens if you stare at the sun?
Well, you won't go blind. You'll have some particles in your eyes, but that's all.
If you stare at the sun, you can go blind.
For how long, though?
What?
How long do you need to stare at the sun to go blind?
I don't know, like maybe a few minutes, but like you can also go blind by like a laser shining into your eye.
Yeah.
That's a bright light.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and what about flashbang grenades? Those temporarily blind you. That's just a bright light.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do, but I'm thinking that we're getting a little bit sidetracked.
So we agree Paul did not see Jesus, so he is not in a position to have seen the risen Jesus, to have like met Jesus while he's alive and then see him again after he resurrected, and then be persecuted. So he's not the kind of person that will make your point that somebody died for a lie that they knew was false.
Well, in his writing, he speaks about the 500 who met.
Who were these 500? Who were these 500?
Well, we don't know like who they are exactly, but we do know that there were over 500 who saw him alive, and Paul includes himself into them.
So just saying 500 of my best friends saw this thing that I want you to believe is not particularly compelling.
Not 500 of his best friends.
I know, I was making a joke.
Yeah, I get.
But the point is just saying, hey, 500 guys saw this. Like, it's not going to be convincing to anybody.
He's using it to tell the audience at the time that you can verify the information by going to some of those who are still alive.
Okay, but he didn't tell us who those people were.
Yeah, but at the time,
so how could we know?
Surely knew who they were.
No, nobody could know who those people were because he didn't name any of them, and we don't have their writing.
Yeah, but you forget that at that time, the church was being persecuted and people were being killed left and right for.
Okay, and Paul was trying to spread it. So of course he could. Of course, it would be reasonable to suspect him of lying about 500 unnamed people who definitely saw this thing that I want you to believe.
All right. Let me give you an example. An example of his style of writing. You know the story of Peter cutting off the ear of the officer who comes to take Jesus? Do you know about it?
No, I don't, but I'm sure that you're going to tell me about it.
Okay, let me tell you about it. So in all
but to be clear, hold on, just to be super clear, are we moving off of the whole thing, like people don't die for lies that they know are false?
No, we're going to come back to it.
Okay, is this going to be related to this?
Yeah, don't worry. We're going to walk our way.
Please, I would like to stay on one topic rather than meandering, so if we could stay on that topic, that'd be good. Or we could shift away from it permanently. Yeah. Either one's fine.
Well, hold on first. You were saying that those 500 people, like, we don't know who they are.
Yeah, we have no idea who they are.
Yeah, we have no idea who they are.
They're only mentioned once, and we have none of their writings.
Yeah, so, and then I said that he's trying to protect them from being persecuted by the people at the time by the Romans who were...
Sorry, what'd you say?
Or persecuting... I'm saying that he is not trying to say the names of those who saw Jesus because at the time the church was being persecuted.
That's awfully convenient, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm going off to explain an example of Peter because in the Gospel of Matthew, and if I'm correct as well, Mark, they say one who was with Jesus struck the ear of the guard of the high priest. His name is not revealed because if it was revealed
does it say that's why?
Then those who, yeah,
it says, oh, we're not going to tell you because if we tell you, then maybe they'll get mad at him and execute him.
Well, you can come to this idea because when John comes out, when the Gospel of John comes out, because it was written way after all of this when the situation where he would have gotten into trouble had passed.
Okay, so this is Luke 22:50 through 51, I guess, right? Is that what we're talking about?
All right. Yeah, even in Matthew, same thing.
Well, Matthew and Luke are basically copies of each other, so that's not so surprising. So did I say 22:51? Yeah. So while he was still, I'm just going to read some context here. Just so then we have the full thing so people don't accuse me of not bringing up context. While he was still speaking, a crowd came up, and the man who was called Judas, one of the 12, was leading them. He approached Jesus to kiss him, but Jesus asked him, Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss? When Jesus' followers saw what was going to happen, they said, Lord, should we strike with our swords? And one of them struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his right ear. But Jesus answered, no more of this, and he touched the man's ear and healed him. Then Jesus said to the chief priests, the officers of the... Okay, so it doesn't say anything about how... It doesn't say anything about how we're not going to reveal his name because he might get, hurt. Right? So
yeah.
So this is just like an apologetic you're doing that is not in the text. You're reading this into it.
Well, I'm not. I wasn't saying that it's written in the text.
Okay, then why should I believe it's true? Because keep in mind, Luke was written like 60 years, maybe 50 years after Jesus died. So like the people who would have been implicated by this story would have been long dead.
Well,
So why would they be trying to protect the name of somebody who's probably already dead?
Yeah. Paul mentions him after. No. Paul. No. I mean, John mentions him after after he has passed. So there is no way that anyone could put the crime on him, and therefore he's mentioned in John and not the others.
How do you know that he had already
and that's
passed?
why.
Wait, how do you know he had not already passed by the time Luke was written?
What?
How do you know he had not already passed by the time Luke was written?
Wait, he was around when Luke was around, so.
I'm talking about when Luke was written. Luke was written like 50 years after Jesus died.
Yeah, and all of them were around.
For 50 years afterwards?
Yeah.
How old do you think that what, do you think that these were like 90-year-old men?
Well, not 90-year-old men, but probably in their 60s to 70s, probably.
How would okay, 50 years after Jesus died, if somebody is in their 50s, so that means that they would have been like maybe early 20s, and they're in their they're in like their late 70s at this point. And so and then Luke writes this, or whoever writes this, because it wasn't Luke, whoever writes this, and they're like, oh well, that our 70-year-old friend, he might get persecuted by the Romans if we include his name. And then John, who wasn't John, by the way, because John was written like 90 years after Jesus was executed, 80 years, John somehow says, but now our friend is dead, so I'm going to tell you his name. Is that what happens? Because what's the verse in John? I'd love to see this.
Okay, let me pull it up. It is John. It's John 18, verse 10 to 11.
Okay. Then Simon Peter, who had a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's servant, cutting off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. So you're talking about that one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So John mentions him after his death to avoid any trouble.
So
to avoid
do we agree that John didn't write John? Probably couldn't have.
No, John wrote John.
When John was written like 70 plus years after Jesus died.
And
you think that John was still alive?
Yes, he was.
Why do you think that?
Okay. All right. So we don't know the exact age of the apostles when Jesus was around, but plenty believe that they were still young, and Peter being the oldest because he was betrothed since he had a mother-in-law, but the others were not. So some of them,
Wait a minute.
Some of them believe
so
that.
When do we think that John died? John the Apostle, in particular.
Well, we don't know when he died. We don't know when he died, but he is the one who wrote John, because towards the
How do you
end
know
of John,
he was the one who wrote John?
Because he said it himself that he is the one who wrote John, and he's this.
I'm not sure if that's true.
Students, yeah,
I think I'm not sure, and I'm not a biblical scholar here, but I'm fairly certain that all of the Gospels that we have were originally anonymous. That the earliest copies that we have don't have an attribution to them. I could be wrong about that, though. It could just be about the Synoptic Gospels.
Yeah, some of them were anonymous. That is true. But then the students of the disciples recognized the handwriting, and then they said that this belongs to this, and this one belongs to that. So
we're relying on the recognition of handwriting by the students of people that we don't know existed, claiming that they're the students of those people. You see how far-fetched this sounds?
Bro, come on. It is accepted by almost every historian.
It's literally not. Existed. It's that the apostles existed, but we don't know who they are, and we don't know if we have any of their writing.
Bro, we do have their writing, bro.
No, we don't.
We do have John.
That's not what historians say.
Which historians, friend?
All of the like I can just show you on Wikipedia. Recent scholarship has tended to turn against positing hypothetical sources for John, while a few scholars support old ideas about debated sources like the sign source and the saying source. Sorry, that's one paragraph too late. Let me read this relevant part. While many modern scholars continue to affirm the traditional attribution first found in Irenaeus, most reject this hypothesis, though they view the beloved disciple as the source of much of John's content. So apparently most modern scholars reject the traditional attribution, namely to John the Apostle. The gospel is internally anonymous. Apparently.
Internally anonymous. Well, the other gospels I do believe so, but not John, because towards the end, John himself says that the one who experienced the okay, let me pull up the end of John and then and then I read for you where he himself says that the one who experienced this is the one who wrote them. Hold on. Let me put it up. Let me put it up. Okay, so John 20:30. Okay. All right. So in John 20 chapter 21 verse 24.
Okay, let's pull it up.
Yeah. Literally,
Hold on,
John says this
21,
is the
24.
disciple. Yeah.
I'm just pulling up the whole chapter. So he says, this is the disciple who testifies to these things and who wrote them down. We know that his testimony is true. Why does it say we know that his testimony is true? And who's we?
We, the apostles, know that the testimony of Christ is true.
So we would refer to the author, or perhaps the authors.
Bro, you're really, man, I don't know how I can say, but you don't want to be
Like it says,
convinced.
this is the, like, when you say this is something, you're saying that thing that we're referring to, that's the disciple who testifies to these things and wrote them down.
All right,
We know that his testimony, so that's if that's referring to John, then that's not the person writing this.
Okay, listen, right? Let's read 22, right? Where Jesus said, Jesus answered, if I want him to remain alive until I return, what is that to you? You must follow me. Because of this, the rumor spread among the believers that this disciple would not die, meaning John, the beloved of Christ.
Yeah, this disciple is in, well, to be clear, it's the beloved of Christ. It's not clear that it's John, but it says this disciple, not I. It's in third person.
Listen, bro. All right.
Why is this written in third person if he's talking about himself? The only place that first person is used is here, as far as I can tell. In this passage, we say we know that his testimony is true. So his be referring to that disciple. So if his testimony is what's being referred to, then that's somebody else rather than we who's writing it. And then we talk about if every one of them were written down, I suppose that even the whole world would not have room for the books that would be written down. So I is not the him. I is not this is the disciple. What? Why is it written in third person? Why do all of the scholars agree that they're anonymous? With the exception of a few evangelical ones.
It is anonymous because, it's anonymous because the church was being persecuted during that period. That is why no one would say the name. But then here, the scribe of John literally says, this is the disciple who testifies to these things and who wrote them down.
Yeah, so what certainly is the case is that the author of John is saying, yeah, these things that I've told you about, this is coming from John. But that doesn't mean that John's the author, right? Did you know that, do you know who J.R.R. Tolkien is?
Yeah. Tolkien, yeah.
Yeah, so
I've heard about it.
So if I remember correctly, and it's been a long time since I've read this, but if I remember correctly, in The Lord of the Rings, or maybe it's actually in The Hobbit, I don't remember which one it is, but in one of these books by J.R.R. Tolkien, he says, I am not telling you a story, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm not telling you a story, I'm merely translating a story that was told to me by the subjects of this story, right? So he just says, yeah, no, this is a real thing that happened. I'm just translating it for you. But it really happened, and it happened to the people that I'm talking about. Right? Like, does that mean it's true that the hobbits exist?
But the context is completely different within these two. And here it is the scribe of John who is saying.
Well, that's what he says he is.
He's testimony. Huh?
J.R.R. Tolkien said that apparently he found the book that Bilbo Baggins wrote.
Bro, what I'm saying is completely different from this stuff of J.R.R. Tolkien, which you're talking about, bro.
Why should I think so? They seem both like myth. Fantasy, if you will.
Fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, from what I see, well, you really don't want to be convinced, bro. It's like you just
If your only evidence is that, like, it kind of seems like maybe John wrote, or maybe John told this to his scribe, and then his scribe copied it down exactly, and so this is actually like real stuff that happened. Like, if that's your best evidence, it's just not going to be compelling to anybody with a modicum of skepticism. That's the issue.
Yeah, but then,
like, you shouldn't have to appeal to a book written 70 years after the events occurred by somebody whom we don't know who they are, in order to convince me that miracles happened 2,000 years ago. That shouldn't be all you can give me.
But before I give you the students of John, disciples of John, Polycarp, are the ones. His students are the ones who recognized the writings and said that this is from Paul.
And how do we know that they recognize the writings and said it's from Paul? Is that church tradition?
Yeah, it is church tradition.
Why is it that the only place you can find evidence for this stuff is within church tradition and within the Bible? Why isn't there anything external that we can verify that comes from an objective, non-biased source?
External, because these things happened within the church. So how
you understand that the church is biased, right? The church has an interest in promoting the stories of Jesus, right?
Well, I won't go that far.
Like, this is a biased source.
Let me give you an example of the book of Hebrew. The book of Hebrew in the church was longly debated to see whether or not it should be added into the canon scriptures, because no one was really sure of which apostle it came from.
Okay, so is this going to be more internal claims?
Internal claims?
Yeah, like, is this going to be more stuff like in the Bible that you're saying is true because the Bible is true?
Well, it's
because
not
the church said it's true.
In the church no, it's in the church history, not in the Bible in of itself.
Okay, so you're saying that this is true because the church says it's true?
No, because the church debated for a long time, trying to find out who was the author of the book of Hebrews, in order to justify adding it into the canon scriptures. So this should show you that even though, the church has an interest in pushing Christ, but they also have the integrity of not putting stuff in that nobody's sure of, or there's no proof or evidence whatsoever.
So then why is the book of Hebrews included?
Because they managed to find out from who it comes from.
But we don't know who it's come from. It's just traditionally attributed to Paul.
Yeah.
But that's not like we don't know who wrote it. Apparently, modern biblical scholarship mostly rejects the Pauline authorship.
Okay. Well.
And now, look, do you think that the Book of Enoch is scripture?
Well, not scripture, but I do believe it holds truth.
Do you think?
But it has been excessively mystified, right?
Why is it that
because Jude quotes
Yeah, go ahead. I was exactly about to bring that up.
Jude quotes part of the Book of Enoch, but then again, the issue is that the Book of Enoch seems to have been greatly mystified, you know?
We have earlier versions of the Book of Enoch than we have for the entirety of the New Testament, by the way.
How?
The Dead Sea Scrolls.
How long? Oh, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Obviously.
So, like, we actually probably have better records of how the Dead Sea Scrolls were, or of how the Book of Enoch was, than we have records of how the Christian Bible, the New Testament, is.
Wow.
And so,
I'm
like,
not
it's
too sure about
probably
that,
more
because
likely
we
that the Book of
have-
Enoch is probably more likely to have been preserved than the
earliest
Christian
piece of
Bible, right?
The New Testament is, it's literally like from the 2nd century. It's the oldest one. So literally, basically a century after Christ, we have the writings.
Yeah. Do you know when the earliest fragments of the Book of Enoch were found?
No.
Like 200 years earlier.
Yeah, but then they come from a time far more.
Well,
far
that's
removed.
that. Well, that's not clear. It's not clear at all when it was written. You know, it could have been written around that time, actually, within a, you know, perhaps
No.
around 200 BC or something like this.
Enoch was written way like, nobody's sure, but if you use the Book of Enoch and then the Bible to try to find where you can put it, like it's
We don't.
easily
That's not what we do
before
to figure out when something was written. We use historical methods,
Yeah,
right?
but no. Well, I'm saying, like, if you want, like, if you read the Book of Enoch and then the Bible, and then you try to for yourself to fit it, like it's surely like way before Moses even.
Yeah,
And
except
Moses
except
was-
that's just not like real. It was probably written, you know, around 200-ish BC. Different parts were probably written at different times, but around 200 BC for
Well-
like on average. So
Oh, all right. What proof do you have for?
that's what the scholars are
That's
telling me.
whatever.
I would cite
What's called?
Fallsbush and Bromley, the Encyclopedia of Christianity.
I'll look them up later. Hold on. Could you say the names again?
Just
So
look
that
up the
I can
Encyclopedia
save
of
it?
Christianity, Volume 4.
Encyclopedia. Christianity, Volume 4. Okay, I saw it. I'm going to look into it a little bit later on.
Look, you've been on for a while, and it doesn't seem like we've made a lot of progress because it seems like you're relying on an internal consistency, whereas I'm asking for external evidence. So I'm going to let you go, but thank you for being here, Christos follower. I do appreciate it.
All right, see. Okay, see you, bro.
Take care. All right, let's read some super chats and we'll bring on our next guest. Thank you guys so much for being here, by the way. If you want to see more of what I do, if you want to see my research, if you want to see the content that I produce, like the science content that I produce, if you want to see the debate stuff that I do, go to my website. It's blitz.phd. There's no .com, just .phd. Got a really good URL there. And if you want to support me, Patreon's a good way. Cash App's a good way. You can become a member on YouTube for like $4 or $5 a month. Great ways to support me if you want to, and you get some nice perks too. Right, super chats. From Simeon Urchin with the $5. Here again to promote Phi the Neutrophils content, and specifically his video on abiogenesis. He's a molecular biologist and makes great science content. Yeah, by all means promote him. From Small Soldiers Big Battles with the $5. It's crazy the lack of self-introspection. If they were just honest with themselves at best, they would say they don't know, but the ego won't allow it. I mean, the trouble is that it's very easy to rely on your own internal sources to try to justify the sources themselves. Where can I watch horizontal? You can go to the Dr. Blitz Debunks YouTube channel. Just type in Dr. Blitz Debunks, you'll find the horizontal channel where all of the horizontal stuff happens, and also the debunking stuff happens, also the clips from YouTube debates happens. From Patriot of the West with the $5 hit them with the Passover circa 2033 question. 2 millennia since crucifixion, he said he would be back in a generation. He did say that he'd be back in a generation, but he wasn't. That is true. From Steve Scharf with the $5, if the resurrection was invented, why were the earliest Christians willing to suffer and die proclaiming it where the event supposedly happened? Well, because the earliest Christians who suffered and died probably didn't see it themselves and were instead taught it. That'd be my guess. From Lispy is LSP with the $5. I posted a thought in Discord philosophy chat. Can you read it and discuss? I want to have someone with a philosophical education to review it. A, I don't have a formal education in philosophy. B, not on live stream. That's not the place to do it. From Pensive with the $20, very, very generous. Always good to see you, Pensive. Your lives are always a highlight of my day. Thanks for being awesome. Take my money. I will take your money. I will take it graciously. And then we have $20 from Steve Sharp again, which is much appreciated. I just want to spread the good news or the gospel. If you choose to believe or not is ultimately on you. Jesus died for our sins so that we may join him in heaven and not spend eternity in a real place called hell. Well, I don't think that that's real, but if you want to spread the gospel by continuing to send super chats, who am I to stop you? From Mika Makapa with the £5. Nope, I'm just not quite getting it. Could Steve Sharp try again with another $20 super chat, please? That'd be good. Yeah, I don't get it either. And from Mike Angel with the $2, pick a taco, carnitas or asada. Probably asada. All right, let's bring up our next guest. From TikTok, let's talk to Ido. Ido, how's it going?
Good, very good.
Glad to hear it. Ido, do you believe in a god?
Yeah, I do believe in God.
And which one would that be?
Okay, I'm actually a Jewish person.
Okay,
so,
cool.
Okay.
So why should I believe in the Jewish God?
Okay, so basically, like, I don't really like the other arguments that were presented.
Me neither. Oh, where'd he go? Where'd he go? Somebody says in the comments, if you tell me what the A in atheist is representing on your picture, I'll Venmo. It's representing the ah sound, or in this case, the A sound. So I don't have a Venmo, but you can use Cash App. It's a $ Blitz PhD.
Hey, can I give you the? Yeah, sorry. The example that I want to give you is in the Talmud. Okay.
Yep, sure.
Are you familiar with that?
I'm familiar. I haven't read it, but most people haven't.
Okay, thank you. It actually states the average lunar year. Okay.
Sorry, the average what?
Lunar year.
Okay. What about it?
It states that.
When you're off the app, I can't hear you, by the way.
Okay. Sorry, because I'm trying to look at the I've it on Google. I'm trying to look at it. It says basically what it says is it was written like around 1500 years ago, and it's actually off by about 0.5 seconds.
Okay, yeah. So people paid attention to the moon very, very closely back then.
Yeah, but these people were not obviously astronomers.
You think? Hold on. You think that ancient Jews didn't pay attention to the stars and keep track of things?
Not by.
Why do you think that? That was it was so incredibly important to ancient Jews to know what was going on in the sky, because what was going on in the sky was exactly how they would determine when to start certain festivals.
Yeah, but no one else ever knew that until NASA came and confirmed.
Why do you think that nobody knew this? Also, I'm not actually sure if this is true that they were able to get it. I've encountered this apologetic before that it was I've encountered the apologetic before that they knew how accurate they knew it to extreme accuracy. But I have a problem with this because the Talmud is not divinely inspired. The Talmud is not scripture. So suppose for a moment that you're right. The rabbis they did know the Lunar New Year to extreme precision. Okay. They're not God. They weren't prophets of God. They were rabbis. So at best, this is just an unexplained, it's kind of weird that the rabbis were able to figure this out, but rabbis do not speak for God. They don't talk to God. So.
Okay. I'm guessing you're familiar with what the oral Torah is, right?
Yeah. The claim is that these stories were passed down. The law was passed down. I think that you would need to demonstrate that this law was that this was actually law and stories that were indeed passed down rather than just manufactured by the, you know, rabbis of the Second Temple period, perhaps, or perhaps the late exilic period.
Okay. Well, a lot of the laws in the Old Testament are very unspecific. Like, do you know what a tzitzit
Why would you
is?
Why would you call it the Old Testament? You're Jewish.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. You know,
It's just weird.
English. You know.
There's
a lot of the
we would call it like, you know, you would call it like the Bible, or you'd call it the Hebrew Bible if you want to be specific. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, like a lot of, you know what a tzitzit is, right?
Yeah, it's a fringe.
Yeah. So basically, if you don't know what a tzitzit is, how are you supposed to know like how to put it and stuff? The Bible is very unspecific when like telling you like, and when instructing you on how to put tzitzit. It literally just said, put a tzitzit. Please search it up if you don't believe me.
I'm aware. It says the tzitzit should hang from your. It's like you should have fringes that hang from your clothes, and like I can go find the verse if you want.
So, and there's a lot of other examples.
One sec, let me see if I. Yeah, it's Leviticus 19:19. I think is the one that I'm thinking of. Yeah, it's no, it's not Leviticus 19:19. Is it is it this one? No, this is. Why can't I find it? This is why AI is useless. That's not actually okay. Here we go. Numbers 15:38. Tell them to make tassels on the corners of their garments throughout their generations and put a cord of blue on the tassel of each corner. I mean, it actually is kind of explicit. Like, put tassels on the corners of your clothes. There you go. That's the instruction.
Yeah, but it doesn't. But it doesn't say color. It doesn't say.
It does say color. It says, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders a riband of blue.
Yeah,
it does say the color.
But it doesn't say exactly, for example, what the tzitzit itself should be. A tzitzit should be white.
It's a fringe. Well, no, I mean, that's the oral tradition. It does, the Torah doesn't say that, right?
Okay, so without it, we would probably have like pink tzitzit.
Okay, yeah, maybe we would.
Why would we have that?
Because it doesn't say in the book.
Exactly. That's why we need the oral Torah.
No, well, you don't need the oral Torah. You could have looser laws. The oral Torah is there in part because they didn't want looser laws.
Exactly.
But that doesn't mean that oral Torah actually came from the same time as, say, the Book of Numbers came from, right?
Okay. How about Shabbat? Like how to keep Shabbat.
Again, this seems like the ritualization of otherwise kind of vague instructions that were described, or vague traditions that were kind of described and held in the, say 2,500 years ago. It sounds like probably what happened is that you have a religious community arising like 2,500 years ago, say in the Babylonian exile, and they have a tradition of doing something a certain way, and then a few hundred years later, that tradition maintains, and so the rabbis write it down. They write down what the tradition is, but that doesn't mean that the tradition was law. It just means that it's tradition.
Well, I don't quite agree with that because
that's the thing that you have to prove.
Okay. Well, I want to come back to my point real quick.
Sure, go ahead.
Can you just search it up? Like, can you just search up real quick a Talmud lunar year versus a Nasa lunar year, like lunar year? Sorry.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't think that this is actually true, but we can read it. So in the Gemara, Rabban Gamliel says that the average length of a lunar month is 29.530594 days. NASA, with years of... Well, hold on, I don't think it actually says that. But NASA, with years of research using satellites, telescopes, laser beams, I'm just reading on a Jewish website, actually. Laser beams and supercomputers calculated the mean length of the lunar month as 29.5305.588 days. That's the claim. The difference is so small. How could they have known? And so the question is this actually true? So what we can do is we can go look at the relevant parts of the Talmud.
Let's take a look at that.
Yeah, so we can do that. So I'll just show you what I'm reading, by the way, so you can see it. This is on rationalistjudaism.com. So this is a Jewish person. Let's consider whether the claim is on the outset reasonable. Recall that Chazal did not know where the sun goes at night. Accordingly, it does not seem that they had supernatural sources of knowledge for astronomy. Fair. Still, one could argue that perhaps the supernatural knowledge was only for particular things. So let's look at what Rabban Gamliel actually said and the context in which he said it. The sages taught in Baraita, once the sky was covered with clouds and the form of the moon was visible on the 29th of the month, the people thought to say that the day was the new moon, and the court sought to sanctify it. Rabban Gamliel said to them, "This is the tradition that I received from the house of my grandfather. The monthly cycle of the renewal of the moon takes no less than 29.5 days, plus 2/3 of an hour, plus 73 of the 1080 subsections of an hour." So looking at the Gemara, we see that it is being misrepresented. He was not giving the average length of the lunar month. Instead, he was giving the minimum length of the lunar month. Oh, that's interesting. He explicitly says this. It takes no less than. And it's also the context in which he was responding to the question about whether it could be Rosh Chodesh already. The lunar months actually vary in length by several hours because the speed of the moon's rotation around the Earth is not uniform, blah, 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 blah. So this is, and we're just looking at this. You and I we're reading together, okay? So apparently, and we could go look at Rosh Hashanah 25a if you want to make sure that this is an actual quote. But so long as it's true, and by the way, do you speak Aramaic?
I speak Hebrew.
Okay, so do you know if Rosh Hashanah 25a was written in Hebrew or Aramaic?
I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
Okay, we can just go check because we can. I just don't know because I know that some of the Talmud was written in Hebrew and some of it was written. Some of it was written in Aramaic, right? Don't care. Okay, we'll just Google this and we'll see if it was. We'll just go pull up the original.
Yeah.
Here. We'll use
Yeah.
Safari.
It's Hebrew. It's Hebrew. It's Hebrew.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's so. Yeah. Okay. That's plausible. Okay. So then we can just go. We can confirm. Does it actually say? Because you know Hebrew. The monthly cycle of the renewal of the moon takes no less than 29.5 days. So let's go see if that's actually what it says. Just want to find the relevant part. Because we want to see if we can trust this source, right?
Yeah.
I think it's here. Yeah, okay. So this part. Here.
Okay. And I don't see the part where it says at least.
Well, it says no less than.
Okay, I don't see that part where it says no less than.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to copy and paste this into Google Translate, so then we can all see it. And you can correct us if it's wrong. We want to translate from Hebrew, and not to German, not to Dutch rather.
Not to Dutch.
This doesn't look like a good translation. But the word that we're looking for, I guess, is less than, right? So what does this what does this phrase mean?
From what I know, it's referring to the time.
So at least Google is translating it as less than.
I'm not sure about that because the word ptucha, at least in modern Hebrew, pechuta, at least in modern Hebrew, is not exactly referring to that.
So what would this phrase mean? Because this is tenths, right?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so then what does this word mean?
It is from the root of less than.
Okay. So it's like less than 10, perhaps.
Yeah, something like that.
So it's at least not completely fabricating it, that we're talking about it, that the renewal of the moon takes no less than 29.5 days plus 2/3 of an hour plus 73 of the 1080 subsections of an hour, right? At least it's not making this up. This isn't an unreasonable translation. That's what Safaria also gives us, right? No less than 29.5 days. And Safaria is going to give us Safaria is a good source, right?
Yeah, it is. I'll read it.
So the claim is not true as written because this is the minimum amount of time. And the minimum amount of time changes. But I guess we can keep looking at what this person says about this.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
The duration that he gives as being the minimum length of a month is actually the mean length of a lunar month as used in the Jewish calendar. That's interesting. So why did he say it's the minimum rather than the mean? Okay, interesting. What Rabban Gamliel originally said, which makes sense as a response to the situation discussed in the Gemara, was that the monthly cycle is no less than 29 days. Much later, someone added the additional units of time to the text, mistakenly thinking that it should be corrected to the mean value.
So he's claiming that it's a mistake.
No, he's claiming that somebody added more stuff to the text afterwards, after Rabban Gamliel said that it was no less than 29 days. So the idea is that the original was the monthly cycle of the renewal of the moon takes no less than 29 and a half days. And then somebody else added plus 2/3 of an hour, plus 73 of the 1080 subsections of an hour.
Wait, so what does the original claim say about the time?
Well, the claim is that it's not clear who said this about whether Rabban Gamliel actually said this, right? That's the claim that's being made on this blog or whatever it is. And I guess that this is actually a textual, it's claimed that in fact that this is a textual interpolation, and I guess that there's an author who writes about this, Sasha Stern, talking about this particular textual interpolation, which would have been passed down by Rabban Gamliel, and then somebody else added the extra digits basically beyond less than 29 and a half days. And so then the question is where does this number come from? Where does the rest of this come from, right?
Okay.
So apparently the number that's given is the average time, not the minimum time. Okay. That's the average time as used in the actual Jewish calendar. So then why don't we keep reading? It's not a long article.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no way to know when this textual interpolation took place, but what we do know is that whenever after Rabban Gamliel the average length of the lunar month was known, the exact same figure was known in antiquity by other people, and even earlier. The exact duration of the month found in the Gemara was already given by Ptolemy in base 60 notation in the 2nd century CE. He in turn was quoting Hipparchus from the 2nd century BC, nearly 200 years before Rabban Gamliel, and Hipparchus in turn had received this value from the ancient Babylonians. There have even been discoveries of Babylonian cuneiform tablets which contain this number. So that is the answer to this mystery, right? The answer to this mystery is that apparently this exact length of time that's here is found in the ancient Babylonian cuneiform.
Okay.
So this doesn't require divine intervention. All it requires is that the rabbis knew about, say, Ptolemy or Hipparchus or the ancient Babylonians.
Yeah, but I mean, I think I would like to take a look at that after the discussion. But I think it is still like pretty impressive when you say that.
It would be impressive for the Babylonians who did it first. That's the point. Yeah. The point is that the Babylonians did it first. It wasn't impressive that the rabbis knew about what the Babylonians did.
Okay. I want to show you another claim, all right?
Okay.
So I'm guessing you're familiar with the Cohen family, right?
With the Cohen family? Yeah. I traditionally I'm not one, but if my mother was a man, I would be one.
Okay. Rabbinical tradition holds to the fact that they are related from the line of Aaron.
I'm aware.
You're familiar with that?
I'm aware.
Yeah.
My grandfather was a Cohen.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Basically, so I heard of this one research that I think was conducted in the 1980s, and it found that I think most of the Kohanim have a Y chromosome that relates them to a man from around 3,300 years ago. Can you please take a look at that?
Yeah, let's take a look. Y chromosome, Cohen, Y chromosomal Aaron. Yeah, there's a Wikipedia article on this. Let's take a look. It is the Y chromosomal Aaron, that's funny, is the hypothesized most recent common ancestor of the patrilineal Jewish priestly caste known as the Kohanim, according to the traditional understanding. Okay, so we actually want the scientific research here. The original scientific research was based on the hypothesis that a majority of present-day Jewish Kohanim share a pattern of values for 6 Y STR markers, which researchers name the extended Cohen modal haplotype. Subsequent research used 12 Y STR markers, indicate that nearly half of the contemporary Jewish Kohanim shared Y chromosomal J1M267, while other Kohanim share a different ancestry, such as haplogroup J2A. While these genetic studies were seen as possibly supporting the traditional biblical narrative, subsequent research by the original researchers and others has challenged this conclusion in a number of ways and has in fact shown that the genealogical record, quote, refutes the idea of a single founder for Jewish Kohanim who lived in biblical times, and rather, quote, seems to vindicate the historical critical hypothesis of competing priestly clans.
Okay, can you take a look at that research?
Yeah, sure, I guess.
Because the Bible actually prophesies that it's actually a prophecy that all Kohanim will be from the Aaron line. That's why I'm doing that.
That's not a prophecy. That's just kind of a definition, right?
Well, I guess, but I mean, people can change their name and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. So we want to go see if we can find the papers that actually, like, we should just, subsequent studies, that's what we want to click on. Okay, so we want to go find this one. Okay, that's a book. We don't want a book because books are not peer reviewed. That's a book. We don't want a book because books are not peer reviewed. That's a study that I pulled up. That's a study that I pulled up. That's a book. And that's a book. Okay, so let's take a look at the studies. Okay, let's do this together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have mitochondrial and Y chromosome haplotype motifs as diagnostic markers of Jewish ancestry. A reconsideration. So this is a study that was published in Frontier Genetics, which is, I'm not familiar with genetics, but it's at least, it's an actual journal, right?
Okay.
Let's just read the abstract together. I haven't read this in advance, so maybe it'll prove you right. Several authors have proposed haplotype motifs based on site variants of the mitochondrial genome and the non-recombining portion of the Y chromosome to trace the genealogies of Jewish people. Here we analyze their main approaches and test the feasibility of adopting motifs as ancestry markers through the construction of a large database of mitochondrial DNA and NRY haplotypes from public genetic genealogical repositories. We verified the reliability of Jewish ancestry prediction based on the Cohen and Levite modal haplotypes in their classical 6 STR marker format, or in the extended 12 STR format, as well as our 4 founder mitochondrial DNA lineages, accounting for about 40% of the population of Ashkenazi Jews. For this purpose, we compared haplotype composition in individuals of self-reported Jewish ancestry with the rest of European, African, or Middle Eastern samples to test for non-random association of ethnogeographic groups and haplotypes. Overall, NRY and mitochondrial DNA-based motifs previously reported to differentiate between groups were found to be more represented in Jewish compared to non-Jewish groups. However, this seems to stem from common ancestors of Jewish lineages rather than this seems to stem from common ancestors of Jewish lineages being rather recent, respect to, are they missing a word? Being rather recent respect to ancestors in non-Jewish lineages with the same haplotypes. Yeah, they're missing a word. Moreover, the polyphyly of haplotypes which contain the proposed motifs and the misuse of constant mutation rates heavily affected previous attempts to correctly here it is. This is the important part. Moreover, the polyphyly of haplotypes which contain the proposed motifs and the misuse of constant mutation rates heavily affected previous attempts to correctly dating the origin of common ancestries. Accordingly, our results stress the limitations of using the above haplotype motifs as reliable Jewish ancestry predictors and show its inadequacy for forensic or genealogical purposes. So we can go dig through this, but this seems like the primary claim that's being made here is that we can use these to determine whether or not someone is Jewish. We cannot use these to determine how long ago or how many individual founding lines there were for Jewish people.
Okay, I think this just kind of.
We can go look here. We can go look at another paper. This one was published in, again, the same journal, Frontiers in Genetics. We can go see if this one specifically refers to the Cohen. Let's see if we can find it. Just.
Yeah.
I just want to see. So it does mention it, but I want to see the actual results rather than. This reasoning also characterizes. So this is just a bit, but this reasoning also characterizes the decade-old pursuit of Cohen and Levite markers. Although dispelled on numerous occasions, the pursuit for priestly biomarkers continued relentlessly to this day ever since Skorecki embarked on this Hammer even set their hopes on the idea that these biomarkers might aid in the identification of lost tribes claiming ancient Hebrew ancestry. So apparently this has been dispelled on numerous occasions. There are a few more reasons to doubt that the end results of this pursuit would be different. First, Cohen and Levite are the 2 most common surnames among Jews in Israel, and elsewhere, all of whom cannot possibly be affiliated with a small number of priests serving in the Second Jewish Temple. Second, these surnames are distributed unevenly among Jewish communities. In many Jewish communities, the surname Cohen does not appear at all, while in others, almost all members of the congregation are called Cohen without a single levy, indicating collective convergence. Third, the semantic similarity between Cohen, Khan, and Kagan, a royalty title used by Turkish people, has been recently postulated as to indicate a pagan shamanistic background. It's not clear that the studies that have been conducted on the Cohen and Levite genes are good, is what that one's saying. And we can look here for the genetic variation, the R1 clade among the Ashkenazi Levites Y chromosome. We can see if this says something about the Levites or the Cohen genes as well. But it seems like, at least according to these two, the first two, that this is just not something that's actually like taken seriously nowadays. And maybe it may have been taken seriously in the 80s, but not anymore.
Okay, I think it's still like both my claims are kind of unclear, but I don't think they're like conclusively like disproven. Would you agree with that?
I would say that you would need to provide strong evidence that either of them are. Well, the first claim has been not disproven insofar as it has been undermined, namely that the Rabban Gamliel just wasn't the first person to say exactly how long a mean lunar month was. That apparently is far older. So that's been undermined because that doesn't prove divinity at all. And this claim about the Cohen, the Cohen name being associated strictly with patrilineal descent seems to not be taken seriously in genetics communities, at least.
Yeah, but what if, like, for example, the thing about the Babylonian, like the number, the lunar year, what if they got that from the Jewish tradition? Like obviously that's an empty claim, but what if
And if my grandmother had wheels, she'd be a bicycle. Like, we can talk about what ifs all you want.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's just kind of unclear.
It's not unclear. It's pretty clear. You can make up a story to try to rescue the claim, but the data is pretty clear here. I mean, in fact, we could actually just go back and look at the claim that we talked about, and we can just go find how old this claim is, the Babylonian claim is. Here, I want to find the actual book. Here's the book. Ancient Medieval Values for the Mean Synodic Month. The standard Babylonian value is this, which is the number that we were talking about. It's 29, 31, 50, 820. Now, I want to see where the record is for that in the Babylonian text. Okay, so that's Ptolemy giving the Babylonian date. The variants have appeared in Al-Hajjaj's Arabic translation of the Almagest. So, okay, this is fine. We should be able to find a year here, though, or at least an approximation of the year. The Jewish tradition for M presents a number of problems. Okay, that's not really relevant. I want to find where, because this was apparently the reference with the Babylonian cuneiform that has that number. It's this one. So we can just go see if we can find this. All right, let's see if we can find this. Because then we can just get a date for these things, right?
Okay.
Babylonian mean synodic month cuneiform. This is the text. Okay, this is annoying because this is the thing that's being referred to. Oh, there's a reference. Okay, reference 3. Great. We love references. Okay, here we go. Yeah, let's look at the reference together. For the mean value of common G, or of column G, that's the Babylonian mean value of the lunar month, in system B that yields the length of that means of the mean synodic month, see this guy, O. Neugenbauer astronomical cuneiform texts. The standard value occurs in the form of text number 210, line 6, but as far as I can tell, it does not occur in any other published Babylonian text. So we want to go find that book. Let's go see if we can. Why does it keep? Okay, I can't copy and paste here. Astronomical cuneiform texts. And who's it by? It's by Neugebauer. Let's see if we can find this. Great, we found it. Okay. Oh, there's just the preface. Dang it. It's just the preface in the...
Okay.
So it looks like you haven't looked into this, though. Like, we can do this. We can spend time looking into this, and it's cool. Yeah. But it's like, why would you just assert that, oh, well, maybe the Babylonians got it from the Jews? Like, why would you...
Because, I mean, that's what Jewish tradition, like, kind of holds to, you know?
Jewish tradition doesn't acknowledge cuneiform whatsoever.
Well, not exactly that, but it states that that the Jewish claim of that is older than the Babylonian.
So the Babylonian traditions are older than Judaism.
Wait, how old is the Babylonian like text?
That's
Do
what
you
I'm
know?
trying to find. But Babylonian cuneiform goes back more than 4,000 years.
Okay,
Which,
well,
even if you believe the Jewish tradition with regards to, like, you know, the Exodus and all of that, that would have happened after the first usage of Babylonian cuneiform.
okay, well, that's interesting. But I have another question. One last question. Like according to the law of entropy, okay,
Yep.
like it suggests that order tends to lean into disorder. So how would you say that this lines up with like human biology and stuff like that? It's more of like a question.
Go talk to a biologist. Also, just to be clear, can you tell me what entropy is?
I'm not sure, but I just.
So then why do you think that this is, like, look, I could answer your question and we could talk about it, but you don't know what entropy is. So it seems like this isn't an argument you should be making.
Okay, fair enough. I don't think I'm going anywhere with this. I appreciate the discussion, but I think I'm done with this.
All right. Well, thanks for being here.
All right, thank you.
It's a bummer. From Walk-A-Lot with the 1,000 Norwegian kroners, which I think is actually quite a lot. So thank you so much. That is $108. Very, very generous of you, Walk-A-Lot. Thank you so much. Let's get 100 W's for Walk-A-Lot. From Vintage Gaming with the $5. A takeaway from the time question I asked you and Ian. If movement stopped with time stop, if God is outside of time, he would be infinitely small. Why would he be infinitely small? Oh yeah, no, that makes sense. I kid. From Christopher Sanford with the £5. Ha! You just displayed your narrow dogmatic predisposition, Blitz. If your grandma had wheels, she might have been a skateboard. Checkmate, atheist. You got me there. I've been had. All right. We have time for another short one. So let's bring up Red Buyasa. I don't know how to pronounce that. I hope I got it right. Red, how's it going?
What's up?
Red, do you believe in God?
Yes, to an extent.
To an extent.
To an extent, yeah.
Okay. Well, look, I don't believe in God. Can you convince me to believe in the God that you believe in? To an extent?
I guess more of a Hindu.
Okay. Cool.
I believe in the Hindu theory of creation.
Sure.
What I really wanted to talk about was I was raised Christian, and there was a lot of fear mongering in my church
As there tends
around
to be.
hell and stuff.
Yeah.
And how do you get over that?
I wasn't raised in such a condition, so I can't answer that for you.
I was just wondering if you knew anything about that. But
So
the reason I believe more in the...
If you want advice, a good place to get it would be, I mean, you could go to therapy, but more specifically, if you reach out to the Recovering from Religion Foundation, they deal with a lot of that kind of trauma that you get from growing up in like a evangelical Christian church. So, you know, definitely reach out to them, and they might have something useful to give you, some useful advice.
But yeah, I could tell you my argument for Hinduism, and a lot of it is centered around fear mongering. There isn't much fear mongering among modern Hindus, I wouldn't say, or at least the ones that I know. And
okay, but how does
their
that make
theory
it
for
true?
creationism, well, their theory for creationism seems to align more with modern science, most other religions as well. Their theory that the universe is constantly expanding and contracting, oscillating universe.
Cool.
And their view on metaphysics, the idea that everything comes from consciousness. You cannot perceive outside of your own consciousness.
Okay.
To make you believe in it, it has to be a faith-based, something you make based out of faith.
So why would I believe it then?
You can't prove... I just feel like there's not much of an argument to say there is no creator. Like, you can't...
Sure there is.
I don't know, I've never heard a good argument to say there is no creator.
Okay, how about this one? If God exists, then God is a mind without a body. That's premise 1. Premise 2, there are no minds without a body. Conclusion,
Okay.
God does not exist. That's an argument.
Okay, yeah, can you explain that in further detail for me? I'm genuinely trying to listen. Like, I want to learn from
Yeah,
this.
look, we have good reason to think that all of the minds that we encounter in the world are attached to bodies. And if God exists, then God is a mind without a body. So we have good reason to think that God doesn't exist, because then there would be a mind without a body. And we have no reason to think that there are minds
I think I
without
understand
bodies.
that. Okay, yes, I understand that. What other arguments do you have against
Depends on which
not
God you believe in.
religions, but just other arguments against in general?
Yeah, another one
Okay.
would be something like,
What are your arguments against Hinduism?
I don't know the metaphysics of Hinduism well enough to have specific arguments against Hinduism. What I can offer you is arguments against the divine creator,
I understand.
period. But I don't know the metaphysics of Hinduism particularly well.
Yeah. Just other arguments.
Yeah, so I just offered you one. Another would be that, let me pull it up. From my
Yeah.
notes, which, by the way, for those who are interested, if you want access to my notes, you can get them for the low price of like $4 or $5 a month by, becoming a member. These are my personal notes, and I don't just give them out for free. Right, so yeah, premise 1, God has a mind. Minds have, premise 2, minds have either changing mental states or unchanging mental states. Therefore, God has either a changing mental state or an unchanging mental state. However, change only occurs in time, and God exists outside of time. Therefore, God has an unchanging mental state.
That makes sense.
However, acting upon one's will changes one's mental state. For example, from something like, I have the will to do X and have not done X, to I have fulfilled my will of doing X. And so, because God has an unchanging mental state, God cannot act upon his will. However, an agent is a being that has a will and can act upon it. Therefore, God is not an agent, i.e. is not a person. So this is to say, God is an unthinking book rather than, if God exists, God is an unthinking book rather than an agent that makes decisions and takes actions.
That is one of the best arguments I've heard for atheism. I don't listen to you much. I just came upon your live and I was like, yeah, this guy seems really knowledgeable. I'm going to be honest. I kind of just want to hear your arguments against it.
Okay.
I don't know if I should say it, but you've kind of convinced me.
Well, I'm glad I could be of service.
It's been great talking to you. I think I'm going to subscribe to your YouTube and stuff, man.
Do it. Yeah, do it. But Red, I'm going to let you go, but thank you so much for
also,
being here.
I'm sorry for the bad signal here. I'm outside.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Have a good
no
one,
problem, man.
All right, y'all. I think I'm going to end the live stream probably here-ish because we only have like 5 minutes left and it's not enough time for another conversation, I think. So I'm going to read some super chats and then we'll call it a day. From Abe Bueno Demesquita with the $5. Thoughts on the evil God objection? Basically that you can construct equally believable arguments for an evil God as for a good God. I think it's fairly good. Now, we got a $10 Cash App from Grimlock for hydration donation, so let me drink some water. And then we also got a $200 super chat for buy a keyboard with a reliable A key. You know what? Maybe it's time to do it. I just really like this keyboard, okay? It's like my favorite keyboard. And I don't know if they make them anymore. So I'll have to look. But thank you so much, Shay. $200 is an enormously generous donation. I appreciate it a lot. Maybe I'll just have to maybe I'll spend that $200 to go get my keyboard repaired rather than replacing it. So for everybody else who's watching, if you want to see more of me, I will not be live tomorrow. I'm having a procedure done. Nothing. It's just a diagnostic procedure to make sure that everything's going okay. But I'm having a procedure done tomorrow morning, so I won't be live tomorrow. I should be live on Saturday though, for some Kerbal Space Program. In the meantime, let me see if there's anybody online who I would like to send you guys to. I can send you guys over to Dalton. Dalton's live. So if you guys don't know the Bible guy, one sec, the Bible guy. If you guys don't know the Bible guy, here's his account. Lovely guy, very funny, very knowledgeable about the Bible, hence the name. Let's all go raid the Bible guy. You know, and make sure that he that when you enter his live stream, make sure that you say that you were sent by Blitz or something like that. You know, something to that effect. All right, y'all. I will see you guys tomorrow. I'm gonna go hang out in Dalton's live stream. Not tomorrow, I'm sorry, on Saturday, and I'll see you guys there.